evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to Richmond International Raceway as it plays host to race number 8 of Season 3 of the Clutch Drop Cup Series. Getting ready to race in the afternoon time, which means the track's going to be slightly slick. I'm Seth Cole, alongside of Carlos Zimmerman. And Carlos, first off, welcome back. Glad to have you here in the Clutch Drop booth.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time coming since that season finale in Season 1. Now I'm glad to be back in the Clutch Drop booth. A lot of familiar faces in this field, especially our front row of Belmonte and Brandon King, but a lot of new faces as well, so it should be a fun night of action. 260 laps here tonight at Richmond.
Solid qualifying lap there for Justin Belmonte, who's trying to continue the streak. He barely kept it going last week, the only driver to finish top 10 in the first 7 races. And of course, Brandon King trying to search for his first victory of the season as well. Coming off the fallout of last week at Martinsville, which saw a league-high number of yellow flags, and of course as well with short tracks, short tempers. We got a short track here tonight as well. What do you think, Carlos? Do some of these rivalries, some of these hurt feelings from Martinsville last week carry over into this Richmond race?
Oh, when you have short tracks back-to-back in NASCAR, it's going to brew a lot of rivalries. We're going to be watching Mike Tellier very closely and Brian Sibrey. They had a little bit of a falling out at Martinsville last week. Let's turn over to this week. You will have to wait and find out, but there's going to be a lot of short tempers here tonight at the three-quarter-mile Richmond.
You guys saw 23rd place Nathan Hall, the last driver that took time. 24th will be Alex Link. Then back in row 13, Evan Coleman, Gary Peck, and Derek Schilling. Our Daytona win will roll off shotgun on the field. 27th. 27 drivers ready to take the green flag here tonight at Richmond International Raceway. Green flag is in the air.
Great start for our front row. Brandon King trying to use that middle to high groove to get some speed off of corner exit. Nearly gets the wall off the corner, but it'll be Belmonte who'll have the run down into 3.
260 laps here tonight for these drivers. They'll be chasing lap 70 for the finish of our first stage here tonight as Belmonte takes the top position. Brandon King into second. Cam Caldwell, who was actually the fastest back during the warm-up session, he's going to be in third with Jacob Grant, Dylan Stipe right now, the top 5. Ironically enough, your entire top 5 drivers that are searching for their first trip to victory lane. And we know, Carlos, that the short tracks, usually it's starting track position that's your best friend.
It is absolutely your best friend. Much like a road course, you start at the front, you'll find yourself at the front more often than not. It takes a lot of guts to try and work your way from the 20s all the way up through the field as they're keeping it nice and clean for now. We watched them in warm-up, a little bit dicey, but it's so far clean and green here through on into lap 4 as Belmonte continues to lead.
It's the battle for 6th place going on right now. Mike Tellier in the 97, now in a Chevrolet Camaro to his inside, the 33 of Brian Sibrey. Talked about some rivalries after Martinsville. This is one of them. These two got together not once, but twice back at the paperclip short track, and they're side by side there. Almost made contact in the first 5 laps.
Sibrey had to lock up the brakes that time to avoid getting into the 97. He'll back off and fall back to 8th. Now under fire from Oscar Jensen, but man, Sibrey nearly a close call with the 97 at Tellier.
Up ahead is the 3 of Braxton DeWeese. You saw him make his
Car
way by the
backstretch.
McDaniel, I believe, in the 99. No caution, however, as I think he spun down to the inside. No oncoming traffic in trouble, so the green flag remains out here at Richmond.
Tough break for Ryan McDaniel there. In now, running in the last spot back there with Tim Hendry. No caution, as you said, Seth, so we keep it going here on lap 6.
Another rivalry we're going to have to keep an eye on of some contact that was exchanged last week. Braxton DeWeese was in the middle of it with the 3 car, as well as Jeremy Bouchie, former winner this season, the 73. Right now, Bouchie running back in the 11th position. And also, we got to keep our eyes here tonight on the new guy, if you will. Keenan Massey made his debut last week at Martinsville, picked up the victory, and we'll see if that 47 can go 2 for 2 right now, moving on by David Durand for the 12th position.
Working his way around the veteran, if you will, in Durand. Now moving up to the 12th spot, he'll set his sights on Jeremy Bouchie, who's running in 11th. Brian Sibrey up ahead there in the 10th spot, as well as Durand starts to cascade backwards in the field, but he'll get a good run off of 2.
Up towards the front, got a battle possibly brewing for the race lead. Belmonte, Brandon King, Cam Caldwell throw a blanket over those three. They're only separated by half a second, all running similar line through 1 and 2. Brandon King maybe about a half groove higher, but we know that as the run goes on here, Carlos, those front tires are going to heat up. You're going to have to brake a lot earlier going into the corner. Might see some searching here, maybe a little bit higher on the racetrack as the race wears on.
It may be 9 o'clock on the East Coast in real time as it's dark, but on the track it is bright, so you're right. They're going to have to start braking earlier entering the corners because of the sun bearing down on the racetrack. Watching our top three here, I'm really impressed with Cam Caldwell. Watching him at the end of Season 1, knew he was going to make some noise, and he's doing it here early on at Richmond, running in third.
You saw right there, 81 degrees in Richmond, but the track temperature nearly 20 degrees higher at 100 degrees. So as we mentioned, a very slick track. With that being said, we know that tire wear is going to be a factor here tonight. So with the fact they've got 70 laps to run here in the first stage, what do you think? Do you think these drivers might be able to, with how the lap times are going to be falling off the longer they go, maybe be able to make those entire 70 laps on one tank of fuel? Or does someone maybe play the strategy, come down around halfway, take on a set of tires, and try and make up spots there before that stage yellow comes out?
Well, there's always strategy at the short tracks, and you saw it at Martinsville last week, even though there wasn't really a lot of room for strategy with all the cautions. So far, it's still been clean and green, so expect some strategy to come out. I expect maybe a couple drivers, maybe not the leaders, some guys towards the back, maybe short pit and try to gain some track position that way, because like you said, track position is all key here at a track like Richmond.
Getting on board here with Brian Sybry on the bottom. There you see up the middle, Keenan Massey with Jacob Grant on the top side. That is tight there at Richmond.
You can fit a slip of paper between those guys. As the benefactor here is going to be Sybry, because Grant is still stuck on that outside groove, nearly caught the wall. Sybry trying to clear him, and he will, so move the 33 to the 9th spot. Look at Keenan Massey working his way through as well as he's cracked the top 10.
Yeah, actually quite a number of former winners from this season right there in this group. Brian Sybry, the 33, Keenan Massey, the 47, Jeremy Bushing, the 73, and Alonzo Chicano in the 10. Actually, just up ahead of these guys as well, you've got another former winner from Bristol Dirt running 8th, the 46 of Oscar Jensen. So a lot of our former winners up here all looking for a chance of being a multi-time winner this season.
Chicano just took Boucher and Grant 3 wide down the back straightaway. Boucher's going to try and get the spot back here on the inside, but what a power move by Cam Caldwell's teammate in Chicano.
Ooh, man, Boucher pushing up. Oh, got a spinner. Is that the 94?
Braden Carroll.
And caution will come out this time. The 94 spin off of turn number 2. Low flag on lap 17 for the first time here tonight at Richmond.
So I have the replay for you in a minute. And I'm watching the 94 here. His Chevy Camaro just ahead here of the 25 of Caleb Smith, trying to get to the inside of David Duran. Yeah, just got loose on the exit of 2, and he pancakes the inside wall, and the caution came out because that car ricocheted right back onto the racing surface. Easy call for iRacing officials.
And no choice but to throw it, because credit to Carroll, he kept on the throttle, so when those rear tires came back down the ground, it sent him back towards the inside wall, but no telling if that car was going to come back up the racing surface or not. And I have to wonder if that is in relation here to the fact that tires were starting to wear down, so the rear grip was going away, or is it just still entailing the fact that it's slick out there with the fact the sun's been beating on this track all day?
It's comes down to the slickness as we see some guys towards the back of the pack. Jacob Grant was one of those that's into the pits here, and that doesn't surprise me because he was starting to fall through the field. It looks like he'll take just a quick stop and go for fuel, but yeah, so it's real slick out there, Seth. I know we're not there technically, but if we were there right now, you could probably feel the heat coming off of that surface.
So far here in the first 7 races, we have had a total of 7 drivers, I believe. No, I'm sorry, make that 6 drivers go to victory lane. So, the playoff grid itself is starting to fill up. Justin Belmonte, obviously, with how consistent he's been this season, looking like he could easily point his way into the playoffs, but he doesn't want to rely on that. when you're a driver that's out there consistently running in the top 10 week after week, you just head into every single race with the feeling this could be my week to finally park the thing in victory lane.
You know, with a lot of the folding of the competition around him that was around him in season one, it's really opened the door for a lot of these guys to make their moves here in season two. Belmonte being one of them. Watching him through season one of the seasoned veterans of this group, he impressed me week in and week out. And he's continuing to do it here. He's led them all 19 laps so far of the scheduled 260.
Of course, that competition you're talking about, of course, probably would be entailing the Luminary Racing drivers, which, ironically enough, last time we were out here at Richmond, brought it home 1-2. Shane Tyrion, the defending winner of this race, Robert Kenny finished behind him in second place. Only Luminary driver in the field here tonight, Mike Tellier in the 97, so the odds not in favor of a 2-for-2 victory here at Richmond for Luminary Racing. But then again, you never know. Mike Tellier's been another driver that's been very strong this season. It was documented last week, though. A lot of his strength has been during the first two stages, racking up those stage points. It's when he gets to that third and final stage he tends to run into trouble. But right now, solidly in the sixth position as Belmonte going to get us back underway at the completion of lap 20.
Great jump there for Belmonte. I'm watching the three of Braxton DeWeese here. He got a really good jump as well, as Caldwell's going to use the inside line to his advantage to try and hold off the 89 of Brandon King. Looks like everybody clean off at two. We keep it rolling green as they head to the line.
If there's anything we learned about Braxton DeWeese last week at Martinsville, is that he's got a very good car on the short run, on restarts, and now moving his way into the podium spot, looks to clear Brandon King for third place, will succeed in doing so halfway through 1 and 2.
King got a decent run off the corner, but he'll hold him off. Crossover move here for King, one of the veterans in this field, but couldn't do it. And now look at Tellier here, the lone man for Luminary. You talked about him. He's trying to get that run on the outside, but can't quite get it as King muscles it into one.
Not only didn't get the fourth position, but I think he almost got the wall off of turn 4. Saw that car turn hard to the left to avoid hitting the outside safer barrier. He now falls back into the clutches of the 46, our Bristol Dirt winner, Oscar Jensen.
Jensen having a good run so far in his rookie campaign. Like you said, the winner at Bristol Dirt. Running well right now, in the 6th spot, one of the quicker cars on the racetrack right now, outside of our top 3.
Obviously, we didn't have the privilege of being able to broadcast the Bristol Dirt race, so we really didn't know heading into Martinsville if maybe there was, contact there. It was like Caleb Smith getting sent up the track after contact to himself, and I think the 42 of Drew Ashley, possibly the 73 of Jeremy Bouchy, but Smith keeps it going there, now in the 15th position. But, we don't really know what the fallout was from Bristol Dirt. Maybe some rivalries carrying on into Martinsville. And, if those scores weren't settled at Martinsville, they may be rolling over into here along with the rivalries that were put together last week. So, back-to-back-to-back short tracks, very interesting recipe for opportunity for scores to possibly be settled.
Yeah, there's a big gaggle of cars back here. The 22 of Gary Peck, Drew Ashley in the 42, the 4 of Dylan Stipe, who was running inside the top 5 there momentarily, and a car spinning. It's our Daytona winner, Derek Schilling.
Caution is going to come out as he is up on the top side of the racetrack, fortunately. Everyone darted low to avoid. Schilling does get the car refired. We also had a driver trouble off of turn 2 that did not bring out a yellow. He was slowing on the back straightaway, but this caution, whoever it was, is obviously going to save him. Yellow flag out here for the second time tonight as we're a little bit past the third of the way mark here in stage 1.
Tim Hendry, he also spun. I believe that car you're talking about is the 99 of Ryan McDaniel, because he has got no front bumper on that number 99 machine.
Take a look and see if we can find out what happens here to Derek Schilling, and looks like he might have gotten a little bit of help from the debuting 44. That's Duncan McCamick. Pushed up a little bit there into turn 3 into Derek Schilling. Of course, Schilling starting out the season with that incredible victory at Daytona, but things just have seemed to not go his way ever since that Daytona victory. And we're going to go back and see if we can find out what happened to Tim Hendry in the 72 as well, because See his spin there on that first replay look. We'll see about here on the second try.
Take it back with you as well. He's towards the back here, just ahead of McDaniel. This may be where McDaniel got his damage. Yeah, 72 was checking up, and the 99 plowed into him. That was all she wrote, really, for both of those drivers. So McDaniel was the reason why Hendry went around.
The thing of it is right there for McDaniel, that's going to be more detrimental to his race car than it is for the car he got into, Tim Hendry. I know that, when we talk about short tracks, usually you don't necessarily have to win a beauty contest with your machine to still be competitive, but Richmond might be slightly different. Richmond is considered a short track, but it has some rather long straightaways. And if your car's not aerodynamically sound, you're going to lose out on a little bit of draft that you can get, especially on the straighter backstretch going into turn 3.
Indeed. After all that, Belmonte's still pacing this group as the pace truck lights are still on. Cam Caldwell, Braxton DeWeese, Brandon King, Mike Tellier. That is your top 5 with Jensen, Matt Dyer, Keenan Massey, last week's winner from Martinsville, Brian Sybry, and Alonso Chicano. That rounds out your top 10 as a few more cars came down and got some service in the pits.
Jacob Grant, Dylan Stipe are amongst some of those that came down pit road. Stipe might have actually taken on a set of tires there. I believe Grant may have just topped off the fuel tank based on the amount of time spent on pit road. 17 of our 27 have not come to pit road at all during the course of this race. And an update on the 94 of Braden Carroll, who brought out our first caution. He still sits on pit road, getting damage repaired to his machine after that head-on collision into the inside wall in the back straightaway. Right now, 13 laps down, but all 27 cars are still being scored in this race currently.
It's a tough break for Carroll. Was trying to have a good run today. Maybe get up into a top 15 finish, but he's still getting service done. Maybe if you can get some guys to fall by the wayside, he'll be able to climb his way up, because that's how these tracks run. You can get a lot of cars out, and you can get your car back out there, just log laps at this point, try to get out of the way of people, and you can still muster up a top 20 if the cards are in your favor.
Tough break there for Braden Carroll as well is after last week at Martinsville, the Clutch Drop Racing officials having a lot to look at during the course of the week, and end result was 3 drivers were hit with points penalties. 25 points taken away from Braden Carroll, the 3 of Braxton DeWeese, and the 73 of Jeremy Bouchy. So maybe a little bit of insult to injury here tonight for Braden Carroll, trying to get those points he lost due to that penalty back, and involved in a wreck and possibly out of this thing before we even reached the first stage completion.
We'll have to wait and see whether he can get back out there. One of those guys that got penalized, DeWeese, he's right there in third, and that number 3 as we're back to green. Oh no, Tellier.
On the apron there, I don't know if he might have missed a shift, spun the tires, whatever it was, he didn't get going, that's for sure.
And that backed up that entire inside line of Sybry, Bouchy, and I believe the 22 of Gary Peck, so that cost those guys a lot of positions. Tellier falls back. That's allowed Matt Dyer to climb up into the 5 spot in his number 8.
See Matt Dyer back in the field. Been a couple of weeks since we've seen him in a Clutch Drop Racing Cup car, and right now in that 5th position. We know if this race comes down to strategy, Matt Dyer is going to be one of those guys that's going to do the complete opposite of everybody else. And right now he's trying to get himself some stage points here as well, hounding the back bumper of Brandon King while also being hunted by Oscar Jensen.
You know what, you mentioned that. I remember an Atlanta race last season. He really played the strategy, and he did it not just at Atlanta, but at pretty much all the mile-and-a-halfs. Atlanta, Charlotte, and Texas. He played the strategy. None of them panned out as trouble for Mike Tellier continues.
And he will continue to free fall through the field. This is not good for Mike Tellier in the sense that he's been able to keep himself up there in playoff competition because, as I mentioned, he does really well in the first 2 stages, gets those stage points, but with a couple of slip-ups here since we went back green, he now finds himself outside of the top 10 in the 16th position and still continuing to go the wrong way.
He's got Nathan Hall breathing down his neck, writing the little tribute to the Purelator scheme from years past in NASCAR, as Tellier's trying to get around Coleman. Coleman doing a good job muscling it around the outside group. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Tellier, he's going to need a yellow to come down and get service, or potentially try to hold out until the stage caution, which is still 33 laps away.
Blanket over 3 former winners, Chicano, Jensen, and last week's winner, Keenan Massey, all battling in a 3-way fight for that 6th position.
Watching Chicano here. Oh. Looks like be a big one.
M. Hendry, I believe. Oh, we got a car up in the air. The 99 of Ryan McDaniel was on his nose when we panned back, and Mike Tellier in the 97 was in this.
Oh, man, Seth, this looks like it was a big one there on the front stretch, just past the start-finish line. You mentioned it, Dylan Stipe. He's gotten a piece of it. Ryan McDaniel looks like he has a tire down after catching some air. Oh, my. We're going to have to really take an in-depth look at this one.
Question is, where did it start? It looks like it might have been with the 44 of Duncan McCamick off of turn 4. He might have gotten a little high into the wall while battling to the outside of Caleb Smith.
I'm watching him here. He's right in the high side, exited the corner a little late, and then just came right down into Smith, and then Tellier gets collected. Hall, so many others among it. Alex Lincoln, then there's the 99. I think some neck coating happened there that allowed him to catch some air, but my goodness, 7-8 cars at least that got involved.
What a strange jump there, almost like a circus performance by the 99. I think another driver that got caught up in that inside sweep that we saw there might have been the 51 of Evan Coleman. We'll look back at what happened there when Tellier spun back down the track there. Yeah, there's the 51 involved. There's the 71, 69. We'll look at that in a moment here, but I mean, that is maybe one of the strangest flips I've ever seen here on iRacing with what the 99 just did there on the front straightaway.
Yeah, it did a little pirouette for us right there on the front stretch there with him. I'll give it a 10. Maybe a 9 because he kind of stuck the landing, but regardless, what a wacky kind of wreck here to bring out our 3rd caution of the afternoon.
Here's the aftermath with Mike Tellier, Evan Coleman. Oh, Coleman kind of got in the back of Tellier, down into Nathan Hall, and then further back there, Alex Link came down. I believe he got the 69 of Derek Schilling. So if we tally that up, we're talking about maybe 7-8 drivers that were involved in this one, our 3rd caution of the night, and it's going to take 25 of Caleb Smith at least out of this race. I'll be surprised if Ryan McDaniel isn't soon to follow. No, actually looks like they've gotten the 99 at least repairable enough that he's back out there on the racetrack.
It's really intriguing, but that's a tough break for Caleb Smith. He's likely going to finish out, barring that the 44 and the 94 don't return to the racetrack, he'll finish out 25th, and I'm sure he's not all that thrilled with Duncan McCamick.
McCamick right now still on pit road, repairs going on. He's right now 2 laps down. We saw the 99 of Ryan McDaniel coming down pit lane to get more attention to the front end of his machine. Still incredible, though, that that car is still running. And Braden Carroll has returned back to the track as well. Right now, 13 laps down. So if the 44 gets back out there, Caleb Smith will finish 27th, last in the field here this evening. He will at least finish in 26th in about 11 laps time when the 94 leapfrogs him for that position. We did have a couple more drivers come down pit road here, but I think for the most part, all of them coming down to repair damage. Not really anybody playing any fuel strategy here, as we are about less than 30 laps away from our first stage coming to a close.
Yeah, about 28 laps to go, and we'll find the end of stage 1. As the pace truck's going to cross the line. Lights are off. We'll go green next time by. Belmonte still showing the way here. Cam Caldwell and Braxton DeWeese hanging up there with him, as is the 89 of Brandon King.
And of course, our 2 former winners from the last 3 weeks at short tracks, Bristol Dirt and last week at Martinsville, right now running 7th and 8th. That's Oscar Jensen, Keenan Massey. Now, Bristol Dirt, it's in the name, dirt. It's covered, with the dirt surface. It's not asphalt. Nonetheless, you got to wonder if, being a short track configuration, just like Martinsville's a short track, if that gave these guys a little bit of added confidence coming into this race, knowing they're a defending winner here in clutch drop at a smaller circuit.
The green flag is back in the air. Belmonte getting another good jump. 3 battling 2 for the 2nd and 3rd spot, as Caldwell stuck on the outside here with DeWeese on the inside as they head to the back.
Side by side for second, for fourth, for sixth, all the way back. The only driver right now clear is the race leader, Belmonte. Now Brandon King will clear into the fourth spot, leaving Chicano and Dyer to battle for fifth place.
The battling continuing just ahead of them. DeWeese might have the advantage, however. Caldwell trying to fight back on that middle to high groove, but I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to keep it up there. He may just have to surrender the spot to DeWeese, but knowing Caldwell, he is not going to back down from a fight.
And that side-by-side battle for second place is now bringing Brandon King into the vicinity. When you're racing side-by-side, you're both taking away a preferred line into the corner, having to kind of do something different, maybe lift a little longer than you want to. The driver that's clear is able to hit his marks exactly the way he wants to, and it's going to really win in no time. Finally, they settle out for second, or do they? Caldwell with the crossover into three.
No, they're not going to settle this out anytime soon. Caldwell trying to fight, but DeWeese is going to get the good run off of 4, and that's going to be able to secure him the second spot. 3 wide back there for 6th.
That was Keenan Massey looking low on Oscar Jensen and Matt Dyer. He thinks better of it. Behind him, Brian Cyber in a good battle with the 42 of Drew Ashley. Good run there for Drew Ashley. I'm not going to say too much because I hyped him up last week and he ended up getting involved in a wreck the following restart at Martinsville. So at least for the moment, running inside the top 10 is the 42 machine.
You look up here as well, Gary Peck, he's having a good run there on the outside groove, running right behind in the tire tracks of Cybery. Drew Ashley, like you said, having a good run today in that credit 142, and just ahead of them, more battling continuing as, whoa, one car had to get out of it, that was Dyer.
And this is some great battling going on, but more importantly, it's down around the bottom of the top 10. Remember, stage points on the line as, check up there for Cybery. Ashley had to get into the back of him, and that lost him a ton of momentum. That was a little sketchy in turn 1.
Man, this is the racing I have missed over the last 2.5 months here in Clutch Drop. Always a good, exciting racing, trying to keep it clean. We're 20 laps to the end of the stage. Matt Dyer's trying to use that outer middle, the high groove, to his advantage to get around guys. Man, all around good racing here, just on the brink of the top 10.
I believe Derek Schilling in the 69 machine, I think he might have taken on a set of tires last time he was on pit road, albeit 33 laps ago. Right now in the 11th position, we'll see if that strategy call is going to be enough to get him some stage points. Again, remember, already has a win at Daytona, but he wants to rack up those stage points as well, try and get up there to the overall points lead and carry some extra bonus points into the playoffs.
Well, watching him now, he's on the brink of the top 10. He's got the battling Gary Peck and Brian Cybery just ahead of them. Schilling, he spun a couple cautions ago, so I'm very impressed with him and his little rebound here, albeit with those fresh tires that he had 30 laps ago.
Also got a little bit of damage, I believe, with the left front back in that incident that took place on the front straightaway, but to his credit, still soldiering on and trying to get himself at least a stage point here. It's a good battle that's closing up as well, up towards the front. Cam Caldwell looks in his rearview mirror. He's got company. Alonso Chicano is there.
Teammates between the two of them, Cam Caldwell and Alonso Chicano. He's got Brandon King hanging in there as well, watching them and that battle is going to start brewing here momentarily between these two guys.
0.4 of a second. Whoa, Belmonte. I don't know if he slipped up into turn 1 or if Braxton DeWeese was just better, but what was 0.4 of a second closed up to less than a tenth in the matter of one corner there. So something says to me Braxton DeWeese is on the charge here as we're about 16 laps away from the end of the first stage. Remember, neither of these drivers yet have a victory this season, and neither one of them have a stage win, I do believe. Actually, no, correction. Braxton DeWeese picked up a stage win in stage 2 last week at Martinsville. But if either one of these drivers close out the victory here tonight, the stage win that either one of them would end up getting here, depending on who crosses the start-finish line to take the green and white checkered first, that would be a playoff point that they would carry into the postseason.
And I'm surprised Belmonte hasn't been able to collect a win yet, the way he drives and wheels a car. He knows how to hit his marks, even when in dealing with traffic. So Belmonte looking really good right now as he has led them all 56 laps.
He's been out there in clean air as well, been able to get the best downforce possible. I think that something we're definitely going to see as the race wears on, the nighttime conditions start to creep in with the track possibly cooling down, is going to be that aero push that drivers are going to get, especially off of turn 2. Turn 2, it's kind of a flat. Whoa, Braxton!
Oh, trouble! Cam Caldwell turned by his teammate. He saves it, though. No, Caldwell spins back in traffic. Caution will come out.
Oscar Jensen as well as Keenan Massey getting slight pieces of that one. Yellow flag for the 4th time tonight, and everyone's scattering as Caldwell trying to get the car refired, but kind of in a bit of a situation here between a rock and a hard place in turn 4.
Everyone will miss him, and he'll get around. He'll be able to back it up here and get it going. Oh, my. I watched them. Chicano kind of dove it into turn 3 and just carried up the track right into Caldwell, his teammate.
Take a look and see what happened here. And of course, this a battle inside of the top 5. Both drivers were in good position to possibly get points here in this first stage, and it just goes horribly wrong. Chicano, of course, a former winner of the season already. Cam Caldwell looking for his first victory, and it's one thing to make an enemy of somebody out there on the racetrack that's not affiliated with you. You got to wonder what the team communication is right now between those two.
I mean, they're down there. They got Mike Tellier in that room as well. Ryan McDaniel, the 3rd member of Radius Racing, and Tellier, of course, just a single car operation now at Luminary. But, oh, man, I'm sure that Chicano didn't mean it, obviously, but I'm sure Caldwell didn't like that one bit.
Thing we've seen so far in this race has been drivers on that inside line really smoking the tires, pushing up the track maybe about a half groove higher than they originally want to go. We know that the Richmond Raceway track surface is not smooth. There's actually a bit of a dip down when you go into turn 1 where the car wants to bottom out. Turns 3 and 4, not quite as much, but there is still a bit of a dip down there as well. And so you have to wonder if maybe a little wheel hop came into play there, forcing the 10 car not to be able to hold the bottom.
May not know unless we can get into the headsets of those guys, but obviously we can't. I do want to report that Duncan McCamick, he has taken his car behind the wall. He has called it a day, so he'll finish out in the 27th spot. Caleb Smith, he finishes out 26th officially with where they're at. Ryan McDaniel, he's still out there, as is the 94 Braden Carroll, so they'll be able to keep on trucking along, being 17 laps down for McDaniel and 12 for Carroll.
10 laps away here as the field hits the start-finish line from the completion of our first stage. 4 cautions so far in this one, and you talked about it earlier. No lead changes up to this point. Justin Belmonte has led them all from the start, and he's looking to lead at least the last 10 laps here in the first stage, make it a complete sweep out in front here, and of course capture what would be his first stage win of the season. Braxton DeWeese lining up in 2nd, 3rd with Alonzo Chicano, Brandon King, Keenan Massey there in 4th and 5th. Got to wonder about that 47. We know that he got a little piece of the incident there with Cam Caldwell off of turn 4. Looks like it's not enough to send him to pit road, but we'll have to see how it affects him for the remainder of this first stage.
Well, the only thing that's really going to affect him is aerodynamically wise. Maybe some cosmetic damage on that 47. Other than that, he may be clean and green the rest of the way. Maybe try to get some damage repaired when you come down to make your first pit stop. As I'm trying to look here and do the math, top 8 have not come down to pit. Jerry Boucher and Nathan Hall, they have not pit, so that's 10. And then Chris Smith, who's back in 16th right now, he hasn't come down to pit either. So 11 drivers have yet to have made their first pit stop of this evening.
Caldwell obviously was on pit road, get a little bit of damage repaired, and the other driver that got a piece of that, the 46 of Oscar Jensen, while running up inside the top 10, he also came to pit road where we start back in the 21st position. So it's going to be an 8-lap shootout to find out who's going to get the stage points here as the green flag back in the air here at Richmond.
Oh, Brandon King spun the tires on the restart. He was not ready to go. He falls back to 5th, allowing the 47 of Massey to take over. Look at the front. DeWeese trying to use the outside to his advantage. Chicano nearly gets loose. He does off of 2.
Dives into the inside of Braxton DeWeese, however, pulls up to the back bumper of Justin Belmonte as well. Battle will be for 2nd place between the 10 and the 3. Contact at the start-finish line as Chicano nearly lost it.
And I think DeWeese was able to get a good run out of it. He'll pay for it here through the corners, but oh my, that was close.
And Massey now gets around Brandon King, move him to 4th place. King back to 5th. Now King gonna drive to the inside of the 47, looking to the inside in turn 3. Can't quite get to the left rear quarter panel off the final turn.
King trying to get back after spinning the tires, only losing the 1 spot to Massey. The battle is on, just on the brink of the top 10, trying to get stage points. Jeremy Boucher battling with Schilling and Dyer, trying to maybe split the middle 3 wide in a 2-car sandwich. Couldn't do it. Look at Drew Ashley running up now on Boucher to try and get the 10th spot. Contact between Schilling and Dyer, and that's going to hurt both of them.
There's contact as well between Ashley and Boucher, so a stack up on the top and the bottom around that 10th position. That brings Jacob Grant into the conversation along with Nathan Hall. My goodness, you'd think these guys back here were racing for the win in this stage. No, they're battling for that final 1 playoff point.
Look at the move by Ashley on the back straightaway to get around Boucher. Now going to use the outside to his advantage to get around Dyer.
And King now looks back to the inside of Keenan Massey for 4th place into turn 1. Gary Peck, solid outing for the 22. He looks on. Brian Cybery, who had some earlier issues, he's now been able to rebound into the 7th position.
After all this happening, we got 3 laps to go, Seth, here in stage number 1, and they're racing like it's the white flag. 1 lap to go. Not quite yet. We still got 3 laps left in this stage as Belmonte has not been able to get away from Braxton DeWeese and Alonso Chicano.
Battle for 2nd place has really been the battle up at the front, but they've been able to still keep in touch, as you mentioned, with the 12 of Justin Belmonte. You have to wonder if maybe Belmonte might have been saving a little bit there while they were side by side. We'll see if he can find another gear here, as finally, this time around, he will see the proverbial white flag for this first stage, but DeWeese and Chicano, they are within striking distance.
Oh, it's battling hard back there. Drew Ashley on 4 fresh tires up to the 6th spot. What a strategy call from the 42. He's going to try and take both Massey and King 3 wide, but thinks better of it with 2 laps left in the stage. No, white flag.
It's Belmonte trying to see if he can get this 70th lap. Try and get himself a stage win, first of the season, as Brandon King had an issue off of turn 2. No caution. DeWeese right on the back bumper of Belmonte, but Belmonte's going to come and see the green and white checkered. First stage win of the season for the 12 machine.
Braxton DeWeese, he'll get 2nd. A good battle to the end. Alonso Chicano 3rd, and across the line, Drew Ashley on 4 fresh tires will take 4th. And it won't shock me if Ashley decides to stay out under this break for the stage.
Not sure what happened to Brandon King there off of turn 2. I saw him slowing on the inside. He was able to get around to the start-finish line and finish in 7th place. So he will get some stage points behind Gary Peck and just ahead of Brian Cybery, Matt Dyer, and Jeremy Boucher is going to get the final stage point here in stage number 1. Pit stops underway.
Following here with the 12 of Justin Belmonte and Braxton DeWeese here as they'll head into their pit stalls. DeWeese a little further back than the 12 of Belmonte. Belmonte getting the nice comfort of being the first pit box here. He'll slide in perfectly fine. He'll get 4 tires and fuel, no doubt, and try to get it back out there in first.
See if that 42 of Drew Ashley you were talking about goes with fuel only, as I think that might be him right there. Yep, down and away goes the Credit 1 Toyota. Ooh, close there for that 2nd spot between Braxton DeWeese and Justin Belmonte.
I think DeWeese got him. I'm not sure exactly which line is the commitment line. I believe it's that yellow line at the way end of pit lane with no commitment cone on it, and DeWeese beat Belmonte out. Got to be careful, though, to make sure DeWeese did not speed on pit exit.
Drew Ashley fuel only after taking on a set of tires under the last caution before the completion of this stage. So he will be the leader over Braxton DeWeese and our stage 1 winner, Justin Belmonte. Let's see if we can get a word with the driver that's been the most consistent so far this season and gets his first stage win on the year.
Eric, you getting
Justin, it's Carlos and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry, I forgot to hit the button.
You're good. Man, we've talked about how consistent you've been so far this season. The only driver to hold a top 10 in every single start. And finally, you're able to check another box off your list there with a stage victory. Congratulations. What were you able to learn out there in front here at Richmond for the second stage?
Oh man, I've ran so many A opens this week trying to get ready, and starting in the back and passing is impossible. So I just tried to put down a really good qualifying lap, and it definitely worked. But we'll see here, starting third. We'll definitely change things up quite a bit here.
Yeah, I do want to ask you, Justin, here. Watching it last year, I knew that you were going to have some opportunities to be able to compete for wins now that you're one of the more primary threats on the racetrack. You're going to restart third here under this restart. You've been up front most of the time. You're going to have to deal with some dirty air here with the 42 and the 3. What's the strategy for stage 2?
Just be super patient. Try to not force anything, not make any moves that it's going to cost us the race, and just keep wait for one of them to make a mistake and make a move and hang on.
Hey, Justin, well, you're doing a heck of a job here tonight. Congratulations on that stage win. We're going to turn you loose here for stage 2. Best of luck.
Thanks, man.
So this is going to be interesting. You kind of heard him maybe a little concerned with the fact that he's now going to have to find out what his car is like back in traffic. But if we know anything, Carlos, it's that you're never going to spend the time at a short track out in front the whole time. You're gonna have to figure out how good your car is back in traffic at some point, just based on how unpredictable short track racing is.
Absolutely. You're not going to lead all 260 laps of this race as the pace truck will make the hard left-hand turn here. And we're going to go back to green. I'm going to watch Drew Ashley here, see how he gets a good jump here. Having went fuel only, gets a good jump, and we're back to green flag racing in Richmond in stage 2.
Another 70 laps for these drivers before they'll get turned loose for the third and final stage. Ashley to the point, DeWeese into second, Belmonte looking to clear for third place. He will do so off of turn 2 as a little bit of a block maybe there by Drew Ashley. I think he thought DeWeese was going to make a move. Caution!
Oh man, right when DeWeese was getting a good run, I think it may be the 28 of Nathan Hall. It is.
It is indeed. Looks like that car may have gotten down nose first into the inside retaining wall as he spins it around and drives away off of the exit of the back straightaway.
Watching here on this restart, he's battling here with the 19 of Cody Terry. I'm going to watch him here off of turn number 2. Ooh, Cam Caldwell, David Duran. Wow, there's a lot of things that happened here on the backstretch. Tim Hendry also got lucky with some net code whenever the 28 ricocheted back onto the racetrack, as you're going to see on the replay.
There is the contact made. Ooh, wow, 28 hard shot. That kind of looks like a la Braden Carroll from earlier on in this race, and that has long pit stop written all over it for the 28 machine. Tough break there for Nathan Hall, who, in all honesty, when you look at where the incident started, it was wrong place, wrong time for Nathan Hall, who was just an innocent bystander.
Yeah, because you looked up ahead. Cam Caldwell and David Duran made some contact, and then I think Evan Coleman, in response to that, just came down and got into the 28.
Nathan Hall, you see, gets the thing refired, drives away. Caution will fly for the 6th time tonight, 5th time for contact on the racetrack. And it looks like, according to our scoring, oh, never mind. I was going to say, I didn't see Braxton DeWeese lose the second position to Justin Belmonte, but for a brief moment there, they had the 12 scored ahead of the 3, but kind of interesting when that yellow flag came out there. The events that took place over there into turn 3, you saw Ashley dive from top to bottom on the back straightaway as if to throw a block, and then Braxton DeWeese went way up the track as if he overdrove the corners. So kind of interesting there that these two were battling that hard at the time for the top position.
I mean, it just comes with the territory running 1-2. You want to have the lead at some point in this race. Of course, you don't get a point for leading a lap, but you want to have the lead because track position is paramount. And I watched DeWeese come through that corner. It did look like he overshot it, but he hung in there right around the top side of the racetrack unless he was slowing for the yellow.
Now, we started this race in afternoon conditions. You can clearly see just by the glare there on the front straightaway, the sun is starting to lower in the sky, heading down behind the Richmond Hills. And if we take a look at our updated weather conditions, remember when we started about a half hour ago, track temperature was 100 degrees. It has gone down 10 degrees to 90. And so the track is getting cooler, which means grip is going to start being a little bit more of an assist for these drivers. And if they've been racing this hard here in slick conditions, Carlos, it's just going to get easier for these drivers to be able to be aggressive and make moves, and going to make the racing all that more exciting as we get closer to that checkered flag.
It's always good, exciting racing so far. And sure, we've had a few cautions so far for this one. We've had 6 today, one of those being for the stage break, but we've seen great racing, and we're going to continue to see it throughout the day. Do want to provide an update. Ryan McDaniel, he has taken his car behind the wall, the third car over at Radius Racing. He is out of the race, and he will finish in the 25th position unofficially.
Break for a couple of drivers making their clutch drop debuts here tonight. McDaniel in the 99, McCamick in the 44. As they join Caleb Smith in the garage area. We've got 24 cars that are currently still scored in this race. 2 of them are running that are off the lead lap. 21 cars currently on the lead lap as the green flag set to come back out. It's going to be a single file restart this time, and we'll explain in just a moment why this one is a single file restart. Is the battle going to be for the 4th position? That's Gary Peck looking to the inside on Keenan Massey.
Look now. Whoa! Drew Ashley way out of shape, and that's going to give the lead to Braxton DeWeese.
Maybe it wasn't a block he threw the last time. Maybe that car just got loose just like it did there. He's now going to fall back into the 3rd position if Belmonte can complete this pass around the top side. Now, real quickly, the reason that last restart was under single file was the fact that a caution... Whoa, Matt Dyer! We'll hold that thought as he's out of shape back there at a turn 2, and someone's into the wall hard. That's Chicano in the 10.
Caution will fly for the 7th time.
Cam Caldwell got a piece as well.
Oh my goodness, they're just running into each other at any given moment. Oh my.
Whole front end ripped off the 2 of Cam Caldwell, who is up in 3rd place in the beginning stages of this one. I think when we go back, this is all going to start with the 8 of Matt Dyer and maybe the wreck in reaction to him, as he was wicked loose and almost pointing 45 degrees the wrong way off the 2nd corner.
We're going to have to go back and take a look at this. My goodness, just a lot of everything going wrong on the back straightaway for Alonso Chicano. He was having such a good day, too. He was running up in the top 5 along with Caldwell, his teammate. Everything has just gone south. Man, you see Dyer there get way out of shape, and when Chicano responded, it didn't work out.
To tell who the car was just in front of Chicano, but he moved low. And then Chicano had to move low to avoid him. And there you saw Cam Caldwell come into the picture just a little while after. Could not avoid hitting the front end of the 10 machine and ripped the whole front end off of his Ford. We're going to try to see if we can figure out who that other driver was that was just behind Matt Dyer. Is that possibly the 18 of Jacob Grant? I'm not sure.
Well, potentially it could be that. While you look at that, the reason why Caldwell got so out of shape is because Dylan Stipe checked up for the oncoming wreck. So Chicano was a sitting duck at that point, and Cam Caldwell had nowhere to go.
Caution flies for the 7th time here tonight. Draws the 2 and the 10 down pit lane for extensive repairs on their machine. Dyer was just down pit lane, undoubtedly to get a little bit of damage repair done to the right side of his car as he pancaked the outside wall off of turn 2. Braxton DeWeese, now the race leader over Belmonte, Ashley, Massey, and Peck. And I'll quickly go back here again to kind of explain why it was a single file restart under that last restart. Because of the fact that the caution came out on the same lap as these drivers taking the green flag for a restart lap, it is a single file restart. If they're able to complete 2 laps under green flag condition following that restart, they then go back to double file. So with the fact that we had a caution come out so soon after this previous restart, I think we might be setting them up for another single file restart once again.
That's what I'm expecting as well. It's run lap 87 of the scheduled 260. Still a lot to go in this second stage. We'll complete a 7 this time by, and if I'm doing my quick math correctly, we'll have 52 laps left here in stage number 2.
So far tonight, Braxton DeWeese, according to our driver info, has not been outside of the top 10. Started in 10th and has now worked his way up to the race lead. We are about to go back green flag racing for the 8th time here tonight. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, though, as you're watching the Clutch Drop Cup Series at Richmond International Raceway here on the Flatout Racing Network. We're going to go FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Teague. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you can only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
DTE Remix.
Green flag back in the air here at Richmond. DeWeese chooses the top side, and he is gone into turn 1. Nearly 0.4 of a second back to a raging battle for second.
Oh, Ashley, still really loose. Something is not right on that number 42 machine, and I think it's because of those lack of good tires. Everyone else is on fresher tires than the 42. That has really been hurting him, especially on the exit of turn 2.
A lot of times at the short tracks, you want to be able to get back to the throttle at the same time as the competition around you. And to your point, with having the older Goodyears, that 42 is not going to have the same amount of rear grip and might be getting back to the throttle just a little too soon, especially off of turn 2. We were 3 wide for a brief moment back here, just inside of the top 10. Oscar Jensen getting split. They now settle it back to double wide racing.
You got to be careful with the way you race at this racetrack. 3 wide doesn't really work going through the corners, as more trouble towards the front. Peck got a little out of shape there in the 5th spot.
I mean, you say that you can't go 4 wide at a short track. I saw some 4-cylinders go 4 wide last night at Fonda, so it can be done.
Well, you know, those are 4 cylinders. They obviously run a little differently than Clutch Drop Cup cars, and with the way these drivers drive as well, 4 wide, in my opinion, would only work at a super speedway, and I'm putting that incredibly lightly, Seth.
And you talk about a super speedway, I mean, the racing that we've seen here at the short tracks in the past 4 weeks, these drivers... Cybery there.
Oh man, I was taking a sip of my drink real quick, and all I see is Cybery run full-fledged into the back of the 22 of Gary Peck. He's lucky there's not more damage to that 33, as I do see a little bit of a buckle on the right front.
Also lucky that that mouthful of liquid didn't fly halfway across Carlos' room, I think, as Brian Cybery. You got to wonder, too, with locking up the brakes like that, the drivers have to worry about tire heat, especially with the right front. As the run goes on, the car's going to get tighter in the center of the corner, and with smoking that right front as he did right there, that's going to build up a couple more degrees of temperature into that right front tire, which is going to be a tight sensation he'll have to deal with a little bit sooner than everybody else.
Well, you think about it, you always have to worry about the right front at any short track you go to. You explained it best as long as the run goes on, that right front is going to be the one that's the hottest, because that is the leading edge of the race car. So that's why Cybery is going to be fighting an ill-handling race car as long as we go greener until he comes down to make a stop.
You talked about super speedways. Back-to-back short track stops for these drivers here in the Clutch Drop Cup Series. Next week, it's the high banks of the biggest super speedway on the circuit, the 2.66-mile Talladega Super Speedway. And I guarantee you, there's a number of drivers in the field here tonight that are looking up to the skies saying, thank you, we're finally going to a bigger track where I might have a shot at winning. I'm getting sick and tired of these short tracks.
No kidding. Just looking ahead at the schedule as well, as I'm going to try and pull it up here for you guys. My goodness, it is going to be a little bit before we return to a short track. In a true short track, Dover, you can consider it that's on May 16th, but really you don't see another short track until you really get to, man, I have to go way down here. My goodness, till we come back to Richmond, basically, on September the 12th.
That's, of course, going to be during the playoffs. Second race of the first round, I do believe, of the playoffs. So these drivers that had the short track circled now kind of running out of time. It's the last opportunity they have of being able to pick up a short track victory. Justin Belmonte led the first 70 laps of this race, the entire first stage. He's still back here in the second position, nearly a second and a half back. And we got trouble back here. 97 of Mike Tellier, slow on the backstretch. I don't know if he had an incident off of turn 2 or what. Oh, that car looks really loose off of 4. There might be something wrong.
Oh, he's manhandling right now, that machine. I'm sure if you look inside his car right now, he is hugging that wheel, trying to keep the car straight, as he is all over the racetrack right now. In that number 97 now, the lone car in the fold for Luminary.
Tellier certainly seems to have his hands full. There you see right there that counter steer off of turn number 4. So that is a pure sign that that car is not handling to his liking. And bear in mind as well, this league is all about driver comfort. It's an open setup league. These drivers get to be able to build the setup the way that they want it to be, and sometimes you hit it right on the mark. Sometimes you have to do a lot of tinkering in a long race like this.
Steph, I don't know if you saw it on the back straightaway. Gary Peck was off the racing surface, out of the way. No caution is out, but he is now in pit lane for a driver that was running well inside the top 10.
Was running in the 5th position, if I'm not mistaken, just ahead of this battle now for 4th place between Brian Cybery and Drew Ashley. So tough break there for Gary Peck. Also, we've got another 2 drivers that have gone to the garage area since we went back green. Nathan Hall, he's out of the race. Looks like he might finish around 22nd or 23rd. And defending winner of this, or not defending, but former winner on the season, Alonso Chicano, has also gone back into the infield garage.
Cam Caldwell, he's still in the pits trying to just get whatever he can fixed of that car so he can get back out there on the racetrack and log some laps, but he'll likely finish well off the pace outside the top 20. As we got 19 cars currently on the racing surface, or 20 I should say, including the 94 of Braden Carroll, who's 11 laps down.
Are on the move right now. The only multi-time winner on the season, Jeremy Bushi, just got around his teammate Brian Cybery for the 5th position. Now sets his sights on Drew Ashley. A little loose there off of turn 2. And now tries to see if he can crack up into the top 4. His lap times are somewhat similar to the race leaders, and the 73 is back in traffic. So that shows just how good a car he's got, especially on the long run.
Yeah, the lead for Braxton DeWeese has hovered around just a second ahead of Justin Belmonte, but watch Boucher here try to work his way and pick his way through. I'm impressed, though, with the car just ahead of him, the 42 of Drew Ashley. It looks like that car runs much better in the long run because that car was all over the road at the start of this green flag run.
We know that most of our top 10 in the last stage, with the exception of the 42 of Ashley, who used some strategy, did not come to pit road for the entirety of that first stage. Just, wow, Ashley drives it deep there, almost into the rear bumper of Boucher, but I think we can safely assume, even under green flag conditions here to the end of stage 2, everybody can make it on what they've got in the tank. So right now, if we continue to remain green, all these drivers up here inside of the top 10 now just trying to hang on with what they've got.
And they're going to be slipping and sliding as the sun looks like it's peeking out over the back straightaway and on the front stretch as well. Some of the more slicker parts of the racetrack. You're kind of glad it's not hitting the turns all that much, other than possibly turn 1 and 2 slightly. But once you get to the backstretch, it kind of darkens a little bit. So they'll be able to find more grip as they go through 3 and 4 with the way this track is laid out. And yeah, you mentioned it, Cybery almost ran into the back of Ashley because he had to check up.
Things very congested around that 4th, 5th, 6th position as we were on board for a brief moment there with Braxton DeWeese. Now, we saw from our onboard roof camera how there is a little bit of a glare just over the grandstands coming out of turn number 2. Obviously, we're not able to get a camera sitting lower in the race car where Braxton DeWeese would be sitting, but you have to wonder if at some point, maybe it's past or maybe it's now, if that glare might be causing just a little bit of visibility problems for drivers off the second corner.
Yeah, it always plays a factor. You can have that visor in front of you messing with you, but or not messing with you, but to help you, that visor, but that's not going to help you in this case with that glare right in your face. Depending on if you have that visor or not, it doesn't matter. It really bothers you. So DeWeese, he's still hanging in there, though. He still owns a 1-second lead over Belmonte. It hasn't grown, but hasn't not gotten smaller either.
We're just back there in our camera shot, that Days of Thunder throwback looking car of the 89 of Brandon King. Very good run for him tonight. So far in the first 7 races, only 1 finish inside of the top 10. And why it's important for him to have the run he's having here tonight, we talked about the fact that so far 7 races, 6 drivers have gone to victory lane, so we're starting to fill up the playoff grid with race winners. If we look down around the cut line for the playoffs of drivers trying to point their way in, overall 13th in the point standings. So Brandon King finding his niche, it seems, at the right moment, and caution is out. It's the 19 of Cody Terry, I do believe.
Yeah, he is billowing smoke in the pits right now. And that is not a good sign to tell on that machine, as he stays, no pun intended, it's up in smoke.
It has been a tough night for drivers making their debuts here in the Clutch Drop Cup Series, and the latest victim, Cody Terry, and it's turn 2 and that inside wall in the back straightaway once again.
Gonna watch him here as he goes into 1. He's got Chris Smith behind him.
Look who comes into view when he comes back up the track.
As he pancakes the wall. Oh my, that's Braxton DeWeese.
Yeah.
And he may want to check his britches after that one. I would too, because, man, that was close with the race leader.
We're not going to check his britches, but we are going to check his onboard camera, because he very nearly became an innocent and unwilling victim in this one. Watch ahead, the red machine there coming out of turn 2. That's Cody Terry. There you see his car break loose, back up the track, and there's maybe about a lane and a half of space there for Braxton DeWeese as well as Belmonte behind him to be able to make their way around driver's right.
You know, I don't know how you go through a wreck without browning your pants with that kind of thing, but DeWeese catches a break, and now, the bad thing for him is that is going to bunch everyone back up and allow Belmonte to hang there with them right here on this next restart, as we had a couple cars come down in pit.
And to that point about DeWeese versus Belmonte, under that last run, DeWeese had been able to open up about a 2nd and 4/10 between himself and the 12. As the run went on, it actually got cut down to about a 2nd flat. Then after he was able to close up that much, Belmonte just kind of evened out with Braxton DeWeese. So now it's going to be interesting here, as we're going to be getting the restart somewhere in the vicinity of maybe 20 laps to go here in this second stage, of finding out just how much were these 2 cars using up, or on the flip side, how much were they saving as they head towards this second green and white checkered flag. And we've also got guys back there like Keenan Massey, Derek Schilling, Mike Tellier. I mean, Massey, of course, coming off that victory last week at Martinsville. You got to wonder if maybe he's now trying to look for some playoff points, as he didn't win a stage last week at Martinsville despite winning the overall race.
Look at the discrepancy on the pits between our top 5. DeWeese, Belmonte, and Massey have all been down 1. Schilling 2nd, and then there's Mike Tellier. He's come down pit road 5 times, and he's up in the 5th spot. So it's a big credit to that pit crew. They have been working really good to keep him in this race, as he's worked his way back up to 5th in that 97.
Not going to deny, though, a little bit worried for that 97, because we saw him have a couple of moments under that last green flag run and nearly bin it off of turn number 2. So with the tires as worn as they are and how ill-handling his race car was at that point, I gotta wonder what it's going to be like here for this 20-lap shootout for the completion of stage 2.
Be interesting to see here. I believe they're going to line them up double file, as we had that long green flag run. Should be interesting to watch these guys battle it out here for at least the last, we're going to go green at lap 120. That'll give us 21 laps to go in stage number 2.
Gary Peck still sits on pit road repairing damage, and Cody Terry just brought his car back behind the wall, so that will be at least 6 drivers that will not reach the conclusion of this evening's event. Aiden Carroll, I guess if life gives you lemons, make lemonade, got involved in that early wreck, was destined to finish 27th. He has been able to pick up spots of drivers in the garage area, and now finds himself 10 laps down, but inside the top 20 in the 20th position. And things could get better as this race goes on. Green flag back in the air.
Great jump for Braxton DeWeese once again, and it's going to allow the 47 of Keenan Massey to try and fight here with Belmonte for the second spot, but Belmonte not going to back down from a fight as Tellier's going to nearly take the nose off the 69 of Derek Schilling as they head to 3.
Caution is out. Incident over in 1 and 2. Jeremy Boucher, two-time winner. Tim Hendry in the 72.
Pair of 70 numbered cars involved in an accident here. Jeremy Boucher, like you said, the only multi-winner this year. Oh my.
Take a look and see what happened. Boucher, I believe it actually just been to pit road, actually. Fired back in traffic, and ooh, 3 wide gone wrong into turn 1.
Drew Ashley, maybe slight net code there. Duran's going to get a piece of him. And then the 72, I don't think he was directly involved. He just had to slow down for the spinning 73. And, you know, judging by that, Boucher didn't really hit the wall all too hard, but he's still going to have some cosmetic damage to the right side of that machine.
Maybe smoking those tires, wearing them down a bit, and losing track position. And if we look back again at another angle here, I'm going to jump back all the way to the restart coming out of turn 4. Watch the car on the inside. That's the 71 of Alex Link. That's going to put Drew Ashley in the middle and Jeremy Boucher on the top. It's the contact between the 71 and the 42 that leads to the further contact. And bear in mind, the 71 of Link is a teammate to Jeremy Boucher. So while that may have worked out for one teammate, it didn't work out for the other. That's not the first time we've seen here tonight things going wrong between teammates.
You know, it's not even them. It technically is them getting into each other, but they had to use the 42 as a bridge to get into each other. And that's an unfortunate break for Jeremy Boucher. But like we said, shouldn't have too much damage. He's the only car right now in the pits trying to service that damage. Should be able to get back out there and get going. He'll likely restart in the 17th position.
Key dog under that caution was the driver we just talked about not moments ago, Braden Carroll. He's now only 9 laps down to the race leader, so who knows? We could be talking about Braden Carroll back on the lead lap before the night's over.
I mean, hey, if you can get 9 more cautions and nobody else falls off the lead lap, and we haven't seen that happen yet, you never know. Braden Carroll might be able to just grind and work his way back onto the lead lap by virtue of 9 more cautions. And I'll be honest, I've never seen that before. And the lucky thing for him, he's going to get one in 17 laps.
Point. So we're going to be getting ready to go back green with what looks like it's going to be maybe a 15-lap shootout. And remember, with that caution coming out on a restart lap, it will be single file, which may be something that Braxton DeWeese will be liking, as he would be the control car over Belmonte, Massey, Mike Tellier, and Derek Schilling. Right now, the other drivers trying to get themselves some stage points. The completion of your top 10. Matt Dyer in 6th, Dylan Stipe in 7th. Evan Coleman, who's had an up-and-down night, been involved in a couple of incidents. He's 8th with Chris Smith and Alex Link right now, your top 10. If you're looking for the driver on freshest tires back there, it would be the 71 in the 10th position. Remember, we saw Drew Ashley take on tires near the end of stage 1 and work his way up to 4th. We'll see if Link can do the same thing here, as he'll have about 15 laps to be able to work with.
Cody Terry, he's taking his car behind the wall. His day will come to an end. He'll likely finish 20th unless Gary Peck or Cam Caldwell return to the racing surface. For the moment, he'll be in 20th out of the race, as he's going to join Nathan Hall, Alonso Chicano, Ryan McDaniel, Caleb Smith, and Duncan McCamick in the garage areas. I guess the lounge in the infield starting to fill up with drivers.
Certainly is, as I think they're going to have a couple more that'll be added to that said lounge before the evening is over. We know that once we get into that third and final stage, the aggressiveness kicks up, and drivers realize that the checkered flag is in sight. But for now, they're going to be looking for the green and white checkered flag for the completion of the second stage. DeWeese trying to figure out where he wants to accelerate. He goes now. Belmonte tried to stick with him, but might have been just a little bit slow on that start.
And DeWeese has just seen a good restart after good restart. He'll get another one here on this single while opening up a half a second lead, and we're under yellow.
Eric Durand is in trouble, and I think Jeremy Boucher got another piece. Brian Cybery, as well as the 94 Braden Carroll, all over in the turns 1 and 2 area.
I think Boucher's going to have a lot more than just cosmetic damage, as he is nearly running a half Wheatland modified right there as he's got all the front tires exposed. I think this was a much harder hit for the 73 and a tough break.
I think this might have started with the 55 of Chris Smith because he was the highest running on that restart in the 9th position at the time. We'll see what happens here into turn 1.
Watching the 73 here. Checking up for the spinning machines. Yeah, nowhere he could have went. Yeah,
71 of Alex Link got into the 55. Spun him around on the entry to turn 1. And King, tough break there for the 89. Had a solid run going tonight. Gets a little piece of that one.
I was going to talk about Brandon King, too. You know, he's got a lot of things that were working for him. If he could have gotten a good finish tonight and then potentially win at Talladega, Kansas is one of those tracks that he's really good at. That's coming up in 2 weeks. He got a win there last season. So he would have been in a really good spot, but now, I'm not so sure.
And on board there with the Autism Awareness 33 of Brian Sybry. You saw him on the brakes, just couldn't slow up in time. Gets into the back of the 89. And Brian Sybry, another former winner this season, collected up in this one. And now the question is, how many laps are we going to have left now in this stage? It's certainly going to be less than 10 laps to go. And it looks like, again, it would be another single file restart. So we're getting closer and closer to a shorter shootout here for the second stage win.
Excuse me, if we're doing the math correctly, if we get the 1 to go this time, we'll go green with 10 to go, and, well, there weren't really a whole lot of benefactors out of this except one man. We talked about him. Braden Carroll gets another lucky dog and another break. He's now only 8 laps down, and with the stage caution coming, as long as no one else falls a lap down, he's going to come to 7 laps down.
Braden Carroll's making only his 4th start on the season. His best finish so far was back last week at Martinsville, where he started and finished in the 14th position. Right now, he is scored in 19th place, and I'm almost wondering if he might not get the lucky dog under the next caution, because a couple of drivers just got put a lap down for repairs on pit road. Jeremy Bouchy in the 73, Chris Smith in the 55. And they've yet to leave their pit stall up to this point.
Well, if they stay in the pits for the remainder of this one, Braden Carroll would get the spot because it would just be enough 9 laps of green flag running. So he would just need the 55 and the 73 to stay in the pits until the next stage caution. So we'll have to wait and see as pace truck lights should go out this time. Braxton DeWeese the leader, Belmonte second, Keenan Massey third, Mike Tellier fourth, Derek Schilling fifth, Matt Dyer, and Dylan Stipes been able to work his way back into the top 10. He's 7th. Same with Evan Coleman. He's 8th. Drew Ashley 9th. Jacob Grant, he rounds out the top 10 as the pace truck lights remain on for another lap.
As mentioned, these drivers looking ahead next week to the high banks of Talladega. We hope you guys join us Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the G4 Sim Racing Vintage Cup Series, as they're also going to be at Talladega Super Speedway, getting closer to the midway portion of their season, coming off a wild race in the desert last week at Phoenix, Arizona. That's going to be this coming Tuesday night, as tonight, Clutch Drop kicks off an exciting week of racing here on Flatout Racing Network. Green flag set to come back out. Braxton DeWeese with another solid restart.
There goes DeWeese with a great restart. Oh my goodness, no one can really stop this guy the way he has been running so far in this race. The battle, however, will be for 5th.
It's going to be Derek Schilling on the top side. Matt Dyer looking on the inside. Schilling has not been to pit road since all the way back on lap 71. Matt Dyer, he has been to pit road recently, back on lap 85, as the two of them close quarter racing door to door off of turn 2.
Dyer trying to hang in there on the inside. Drew Ashley trying to put his name into the hat and say, hey, I want to play too, guys, but he'll think better of it. He'll ride in the tire tracks of Dyer to try and help him along there on the front stretch. Not much draft can do at a track like Richmond, much like what it'll be at Talladega next week. But man, it is quite the battle here just on the brink of the top 5. Here we go, 3 wide.
Dyer's going to back out of that, fortunately, as that would have been 3 wide between Schilling, Dyer, and Ashley. Ashley with the fresher tires as well. We saw him pull the same strategy back in stage 1, was able to work his way up to 4th. Right now, in the 5th position, trying to reel in the 97 of Mike Teller. Got a car that's stopped down there, or slow coming off of pit road. Out of the way, however, as we continue to race towards the end of this stage, and Belmonte is slowly reeling in Braxton DeWeese.
5 laps to go in stage number 2. That slow car, I believe, was the 55 of Chris Smith returning to the racetrack, so that's not going to help Braden Carroll's cause to get another lucky dog. But man, oh man, here comes Belmonte trying to pick a different line, a little bit of a higher line through 3 and 4 that time compared to Braxton DeWeese.
Last time by, he was 7 100ths quicker. This time by, 4 100ths quicker. So he's chipping away, and he's got about half a second between himself and the race leader. Battle for 3rd place finds Keenan Massey, who gets a little loose off the corner. He's got Mike Teller behind him, and the fresh tires of Drew Ashley reeling in them both.
Wouldn't surprise me if Ashley's able to get up to 3rd. Don't think he'll quite get to Belmonte because of the time right now. Here he comes to the inside of Mike Teller here into 1.
To work his way at least up to where he was the completion of stage 1. Might get 1 spot before that, as it will be 2 laps to go here in the 2nd stage. Gap now closed up, a car length and a half between DeWeese and Belmonte. Belmonte's got a shot here to sweep the stages at Richmond.
Belmonte trying to pick again. He's going a little half groove higher than DeWeese. That allows him to have better corner exit. You'll see it here as he is nearing the back bumper of DeWeese here into 3. You could put a car right between them both.
They'll have the proverbial white flag this time by. Who's going to pick up their 2nd stage win on the season? DeWeese got it in stage 2 last week at Martinsville. Belmonte got it stage 1 here tonight at Richmond. Off the back straightaway they go.
I don't think Belmonte had enough there. He tried to get there. He's just going to fall short here. DeWeese is going to get it.
Off of turn 4, checkered flag, green and white checkered flag, waves over the hood of Braxton DeWeese. Back-to-back weeks, he's going to win the 2nd stage, and here tonight it will be at Richmond International. So if he ends up making the playoffs, he now has 2 playoff points based off of stage victories, and Belmonte, Drew Ashley, Keenan Massey, Mike Teller are going to complete the top 5, followed by Jensen, Cybery, Schilling, Matt Dyer, and David Duran's going to snipe the final stage point.
He took it away from Dylan Stipe as here they come, Seth, the cavalry heading into the pits here. As Braxton DeWeese will come down, he doesn't have that benefit of the first pit stall, so it'll be interesting to see how both of them battle on the racetrack, and I think David Duran stayed out.
David Duran had a solid run last week at Martinsville, almost pulled off the victory on a tire strategy, so might be looking for lightning to strike twice, but finished just a position better, as he's going to stay out and more than likely be our leader when we go back green. So we're entering into that 3rd stage, and the strategy begins.
Ryan Cybery, he pulls the strategy too, I believe. Trying to look here at his telemetry out of the pits. 31.2 in the lane, 5.6. I think he just topped the car off with fuel.
Cybery will be the highest he's run all day, restarting in 2nd behind David Durand, who was last on pit road 21 laps ago. Let's see if we can now go down and get a word with our stage 2 winner. Braxton DeWeese back-to-back wins in stage 2 in the last 2 weeks. Hey Braxton, it's Carlos and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I do.
Wow, 2nd stage victory for you in the last 2 weeks. And well, I'm gonna just let you avoid this 4-car spinning in front of you here.
I don't know what's going on there.
But, man, strong race car for you here tonight. You finished well in stage 1. You dominate stage 2, but now a longer stage 3. So what have you learned about your car on the long run you can apply as the sun starts to set?
It was tending to be a little bit tighter in center on the long run. So we made a little bit of adjustment, see what we can do, see if we can loosen it up just a tiny bit in center. Overall, I feel pretty good. just if we get that long run, I feel like Justin's going to be on my rear end there if I'm tight. So hopefully this adjustment works and we can pull away from him.
Well, I asked Justin here, Braxton, that under the first stage caution when he won, I asked him, you're going to be restarting in dirty air after having experienced all that clean air. I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked him. What's the strategy here in this restart here and for the third stage, given that you're going to be dealing with some dirty air here in the 24 and the 33?
If they're going to run the bottom, I might just try and rip the top and see what we can get with it.
Ask you real quickly here, Braxton, as well. You know, we're starting to see drivers migrate a little bit higher on the racetrack. Are you guys, as the track gets cooler, finding more grip up there in the second and third grooves?
I feel like as the night goes on and the track gets cooler, I feel like you'll be able to move up there and it'll be a little bit more stickier. It works a little bit if you want to hold off somebody or get a little bit of a run. I was using it multiple times. So I feel like you can get a little bit of grip there, but we'll see what we can do here.
All right, Braxton. Well, we know you were a contender last week. You're certainly a contender here tonight. Best of luck to you. Go get him.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ryan Cybery on the inside. Leader David Duran takes the outside. Stage 3 here tonight at Richmond is underway. We're racing to the checkers.
Good restart for David Duran. Not so much for the guy we just talked to, Braxton DeWeese. And speaking of which, look at Belmonte. He's right back where he started today. He's to the inside of Duran. He's going to get the lead there off of 4.
Justin Belmonte, you can bet's one of those drivers that would like to see this thing maybe go long green as things got wadded up around 10th place. Mike Tellier dropping back. They took him 3 wide. Brandon King, Evan Coleman. Oh! King, a little contact between himself and the 42 of Ashley. They keep it together.
King saves it there in that Days of Thunder scheme there in that 89. Hanging in there now just behind Alex Link in the 71 there. Mike Tellier running right there in 10th is Braxton DeWeese. He is settled back into 2nd. Keenan Massey to 3rd as David Duran will start to cascade through the field.
Those older tires now coming into play for the 24. He's going to start free falling outside of the top 5, also having to deal with some connection issues, which is going to make things a little nerve-wracking for Brian Cybery, Derek Schilling, and others as they try and methodically make their way around the older Goodyears on that 24 machine. Whoa, Matt Dyer! Loosey-goosey off of turn 2. What a save!
He's going to fall further back. He's now sitting on the apron here. He's got to bring it back up the racing surface when he can find room. Jacob Grant finding the way around him. Tough break for Dyer. He was in the top 10 now. He'll have to reset and try to get back up there. He's now 13th.
The easiest apron to run here at Richmond, especially through 3 and 4. Those sand barrels that help protect the entrance of pit lane wall can come up on you in a hurry. Up at the front, the gap that was about 5-6 car lengths now closed up to less than 1. DeWeese has reeled Justin Belmonte back in for the top position.
Keenan Massey, he lays in wait about 1 2/10 seconds back. DeWeese trying a different line here. Like he said, he's going to try and use that outer groove to get a good exit off the corner. It's going to work for him because here he comes.
Must have had about 5 miles per hour difference between himself and Belmonte coming off of turn 4. And I guarantee you there are drivers in the field that are going to sit up and take notice of that move. You're going to see more drivers, I think, now migrate up to that top side, try and find that momentum onto the straightaways.
Belmonte's now going to have to lay in the tire tracks now of Braxton DeWeese and try to get back around him at some point. Still a lot to go. We're nearing 100 laps to go. Belmonte's just got to be smart. One of the veteran drivers in this field. He just needs to be smart and he can try to cruise to a victory. He's going to go high to low here between DeWeese and Belmonte.
Monte so far this season in 6 starts has had 2 top 5s, 3 finishes inside the top 10. Best finish, a runner-up back at Phoenix, and trying to see if he can go to victory lane at another hot and slick track here this evening at Richmond. Keenan Massey, though, the last couple of times by has been the fastest car on the track. Top 2 been running 28.1s. Massey's been running the 22.0s.
That time by DeWeese ran a little quicker, sub 22 that time at 21.99. The season's been running good so far, and now he'll start to try and put a gap between him and Belmonte.
So we end up getting into the third stage following what happened in the first two stages. How about some of these comeback runs? Derek Schilling, caution's out. We'll get to that in a moment. It's the old tires of David Durant coming back to bite him. He's looped it around off turn 3.
It's the old tires coming back to bite him there as he looped it through in turn 3. And the lucky thing for him, he is going to be able to keep it going here without much further damage, and he'll be able to come down and get some service to his machine.
Well, David Durant, fortunately, now going to be able to come down and get himself some fresh tires, as still dealing with the internet connection issues, and does make some contact there with the front end of the car, and I think that might have possibly been at Grant. Somebody almost hit him. I think actually that was the lap machine of Cam Caldwell that almost hit the 24 on his way back up into the entrance of the third corner.
No, you're right the first time. It was Jacob Grant, as Caldwell has still been in the pits for God knows how long. It was Grant that almost got into him, and it's the lucky thing for Grant that he didn't get into him, because he's going to be the lucky dog under this caution.
Riding on board with the 18. Watch up ahead here going into turn 3. You'll see the smoke of the 24 of Durant. There he is into the inside wall. Back up the track. Hello into turn 3. Grant, amazing job of being able to sneak through. And as you mentioned, saving his opportunity to now be back on the lead lap, giving us 16 drivers that'll be back on the lead lap. We go back green flag racing.
Should be a double file restart here, as we were able to get some green flag runs going. So it'll be DeWeese and Belmonte, and don't be surprised here that if DeWeese takes that outside line again. It's been working for him today, and it's going to continue to work the longer he is out there.
Departure early for multi-time winner Jeremy Bouchy. He has brought his machine into the garage area a while ago. It looks like he will finish at least in the 19th position. So tough break there for a driver who is locked in to the playoffs with his 2 trips to victory lane, but also was looking to be the regular season champion, was the points leader in the overall standings coming into tonight, but a little bump in the road there for the multi-time winner. We're going to depart as well, but just for a brief moment. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back here for the green flag at Richmond as we're going to go FRN side by side.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Welcome, race fans.
Twilight hits Richmond, Virginia as we continue on race number 8 of season 2 of the Clutch Drop Cup Series. Getting ready to come back green flag racing. We've just gotten the third and final stage underway, and Braxton DeWeese takes the green flag with 100 laps left here tonight.
Here we go, the final sprint to the end as Deweese gets a great run here into 1 and 2 here on this restart. Belmonte trying to hang up with him there in second, but Deweese is saying bye-bye.
3 car lengths there into turns 3 and 4. Battle going to be for the 4th position. Now make it 5th. Cybery was alongside of Derek Schilling, lost the momentum off turn 4. Mike Tellier now drives to the outside of the 33.
Tellier, he's been dealing with an ill-handling race car all day long, but he is bouncing back in this one. Getting up into the 5th spot now as he clears Cybery. King, who had a little trouble earlier on in the back straightaway, he's back in the top 10. May have gotten the wall, though, off of turn number 4.
No, I'm just wondering possibly about that 97 of Mike Tellier. I mean, he knew that this track was going to undergo changes as we went from afternoon into the twilight and eventually into the evening here tonight. Might have had his car set up for the second half of the race and just trying to survive the first half. That might have been what we were observing there in the first 2 stages.
And, you know, it's kind of, you mentioned it earlier that he does really well through the first and second and then kind of falls off in the third. It's kind of flipped here. He had troubles in stage 1 and 2, and now he's bouncing back in this 3rd stage. I hope I didn't jinx him with me saying that, but he is looking really good right now as he's trying to work on the 69 as Schilling.
Dyer looked at the top side, possible 3 wide there for the 7th spot. It's now Oscar Jensen, Brandon King still left to battle for that position. Both almost made a little contact there into the first corner. Ahead of them, Tellier takes a look to the inside of Schilling, not quite able to make the move just yet. Those two now wadded up, bring Brian Cybery into the mix.
Look at Dyer trying to get the 2-for-1 special of the 89 and the 46. May have to call him in because the stakes are ready as he is going to try and get around the 46 of Jensen, and then he can set his sights on the 33 of Cybery, but he gets a little loose.
Into nighttime conditions, checking on the temperature of the track. Not much difference since we checked back around the beginning of stage 2. Track temp's gone down maybe another 2 degrees at 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, the temperature here tonight for the overall weather has only gone down 1 degree. So the track temp not changing a whole lot, and I'm a little surprised that it really hasn't because we are now practically in cloud cover, not much sunlight hitting the racetrack anymore.
Yeah, with the track temp dipping a little bit since the drop of the original green flag. Of course, no humidity to hurt things either, as this track, it's going to continue to get cooler as we continue to roll through the rest of this race with 90 laps to go coming up shortly.
Battle back behind this battle for 5th. That's where we find Brandon King, Brian Cybery. They were side by side. Now King going to pull alongside of Oscar Jensen for 7th place. Up at the front a little bit further, it's the battle for 5th place. Derek Schilling now going to lose it. Matt Dyer, loose again. They're off of turn 2. That car is loose, but it's also fast.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing. You want a quick car, but you don't want it loose either, so I'm sure Matt Dyer has his hands full there in that Rhino Ford Mustang, but he is hanging tough there. Now in the 5th spot, the highest we've seen him since earlier on in this race.
Obviously, I don't want to jinx Braxton Deweese, but I do have to bring up the fact that last week at Martinsville, a race-winning car got a speeding penalty, had to start towards the back late in the race. He was able to battle back to finish in the 6th position after leading 142 laps. The one thing we know here, Carlos, in this 3rd and final stage, these drivers will have to be on pit road at some point, and it could very well be under green flag conditions.
I'm willing to bet it's going to be under green flag conditions. I know we've had a lot of cautions today, but the way these guys have been racing and the way they're spread out a little bit right now, I think that might stay the way it's going to be going here for the rest of this race. As we look at the 2 leaders, they were last on pit road around about 31 laps ago, so around lap 142. So if we're doing the math correctly, yeah, they're going to have to pit one more time.
You mentioned about single file. I mean, you go all the way back to 7th place. They are all running single file with quite a bit of space in between each other. The closest battle right now is side by side for 8th position. Brian Cybery looking to the inside of Brandon King. Nothing doing. He'll tuck back in line. And I was going to say before we end up having that last caution, as now Cybery jumps up there to the top side. He might complete this pass over here into 1 and 2, but How about some of these drivers with the comeback runs? You have Mike Tellier, who struggled early on this race, up in 4th. Matt Dyer, who nearly lost it off turn 2 a number of times, actually had to repair his car with right side damage, in 5th. Derek Schilling had an early spin. He's in 6th. And Oscar Jensen, who got caught up in an incident back in the end of the first stage, he's now up in 7th. So we're starting to see drivers that are out there and continue to soldier on, now up inside of the top 10 and en route to some pretty good finishes.
Stibury completed the pass around Brandon King using the top side. An impressive run, and it tells you that there is some grip up in that upper groove.
Duran there in the 24 after his spin into the inside wall. First car 1 lap down. He'd love to see a yellow flag get the free pass. He jumps to the outside of Jacob Grant, who is trying to get up to Drew Ashley for the final spot inside of the top 10.
What a rebound for Jacob Grant, another driver who was off the lead lap. Got a lucky dog, and now he's back on the lead lap in 11th, trying to hunt down Drew Ashley. And, you know, I know it's a little early still to think about dark horses in this race. I like Drew Ashley because the last 2 stage finishes within the last 10 laps, we've had a caution, and Ashley plays the strategy to a T to get great stage points.
It's kind of interesting looking at last year's race here at Richmond. 4 drivers in the field finished inside the top 10. Only one of them finished inside the top 5. He's trying to reel in the race leader Braxton DeWeese. That is the 12 of Justin Belmonte, who finished 4th here 1 year ago.
And the gap has closed a little bit. It was around a second. Now it's about 3/4 of a second. So Belmonte is not letting the 3 get out of his sight.
Last time by, both ran fairly equal lap times, a 22.620 for DeWeese, a 6.48 for Justin Belmonte. The only other driver that might have been in close proximity to that lap time was Mike Tellier in the 4th position, but he's got Keenan Massey between himself and 2nd place, plus about maybe 3.5 seconds.
It's really spread out amongst our top 2 and 3, but yeah, like you said, that battling continuing. Man, Matt Dyer is working his way through this field.
Matt Dyer was on pit road under the last caution. Might have taken on a set of tires there. He has about 16 lap fresher tires if he did indeed put on some new Goodyears under the last caution period. And they are working to his benefit. He now moves up to 4th place, and he's only about 0.8 of a second behind Keenan Massey for 3rd place. Now, we haven't had it here yet, Carlos, but we're about to. There you see, lap traffic is going to start to be something the race leader's going to have to deal with. Mentioned Richmond is a slightly longer of the short tracks, and the short 70-lap sprints in the first 2 stages, race leader, whether it be DeWeese or Belmonte, didn't have to deal with it. Now, as we settle with a long green flag run here and a much longer stage 3, that traffic is something these race leaders are going to have to deal with.
He's going to have the 55 and the 72 of Tim Hendry, the 55 of Chris Smith, just ahead of Braxton DeWeese. He's going to have to deal with them at some point. If he's lucky, he gets them on the front stretch here, and he's able to get around them. You catch a lap traffic car in a corner, it is going to hurt you like there is no tomorrow, as he's going to maybe get him on the back stretch here. It depends on the closing rate between these 2 guys, but now if the 55 and the 72 get double file, that could mean double trouble for the 3, but he does get around the 55 with these, the 55 wisely getting out of the way.
Smith went wide off of turn 2, left the bottom open for DeWeese, then dropped to the bottom to give the top side to Justin Belmonte down the back straightaway. Next car they'll have to deal with, the 72 of Tim Hendry. He's going to hug the yellow line there through 1 and 2. We'll see if he's going to be courteous and get out of the way here down the back straightaway. My goodness, trying to fight to stay. Well, actually, he's already a lap down, so this is not going to keep him on the lead lap. Instead, it puts him a 2nd lap down, and Tim Hendry not being a very gracious lap machine right there for race leader Braxton DeWeese.
Well, the thing is, he didn't really hurt DeWeese all too bad. Let's see how he is with the 12 of Belmonte, and he just lets him go by.
Of course, all these drivers are able to communicate with everybody else, and so if you're a race leader Braxton DeWeese, you've got to maybe a couple of corners before you catch that slower machine. Let them know which line you are running, which line you prefer. Get that communication out there ASAP so you don't run into that issue he had there getting around Hendry in the 72 machine. Right now, 18 drivers are still out there running. 14 on the lead lap. The last of those, Alex Link. David Durand is the only car now 1 lap down. Would get the free pass should we have a yellow flag, as we're closing in on 70 laps to go here tonight at Richmond.
Deweese now stretching his lead back out to about a second. They have really pulled away from the rest of the field. Keenan Massey's now 4 seconds back of the 3 and the 12. Matt Dyer, he's fallen about a second, and Mike Tellier hasn't really allowed Matt Dyer to get away.
I wonder if maybe Matt Dyer used up enough of his stuff fighting his way into the top 5 that now he's kind of on equal footing to the drivers around him, despite being on pit road 16 laps later than the 47 of Keenan Massey ahead of him and the 97 of Mike Tellier behind him. Tellier starting to close up the gap actually for that 4th position.
Trying to look here through this field if there's really anyone else you got to be watching for here. Not much has changed. Eric Schilling, he's fallen back. Brian Sybery, he's kind of rebounded here. He's up into the 6th spot now after he had some early troubles at the beginning on the restart.
We have a question mark that we haven't answered, and we may not know until post-race. Dylan Stipe right now runs back out, I believe, the next to last car on the lead lap in 13th place. Remember when we were talking with Braxton Deweese back during the Stage 2 interview, we saw Dylan Stipe get loose coming off of pit road and spin it up into the outside wall. That car has just not looked like it's had the speed we're used to him having. Of course, the driver that competed for the championship at Charlotte back at the end of Season 1.
Yeah, sporting a different number this year. It was doing the 20 in Season 1. Now jumps over to a SHR look with the 4. Now he's riding behind a JGR copy with Jacob Grant there in that number 18, as Grant's going to try and protect that spot. Won't be surprised if Stipe gets the spot. He might, because Grant got out of shape off of 2.
Right onto the back bumper of the 18, Chevy versus Ford for position number 12. Stipe really good there through the center of 3 and 4 as the 18 gets a little loose off the final corner. Now Stipe's going to jump to the outside going into 1.
As he's going to get down and complete the pass with ease. So move the 4 up now to what will be the 11th spot, because Drew Ashley is in the pits, and that might be the opening of the window for green flag pit stops.
Oh, let's not forget, they were able to make it 70 laps in the first 2 stages without coming to pit road, so the fuel window would indeed be open for drivers to make it the rest of the way should they so choose. But we've seen so many times, not just only here in Clutch Drop, but other leagues as well, with a short track, you pit early. Yes, you get the benefit of the fresher tires and the better lap times earlier than everybody else. You also run the risk that you're going to fall at least 1 lap down, and if a caution comes out, you may be trapped off the lead lap. So it's a bit of a gamble here for the 42.
And he sits 2 laps down now. The first car 2 laps down. He's going to have to wait for the leaders to come in and pit for him to be able to get back on to the lead lap. And with where they're at right now, and the majority of them on lap 56 of their run, they're not going to be coming in for at least another 10 laps.
The good news for Drew Ashley was he came out behind the race leaders and he's got those fresh tires. So he'll be able to race around and get at least one of his laps back here, as that's the leader just ahead of him, Braxton Deweese. So he will actually be -1. The thing he's going to have to do now is catch up to drivers like David Durand and Alex Link, who has just put a lap down moments ago, get himself up into the free pass position should a caution come out. That's the only way that he'd be able to get back on the lead lap should a yellow flag wave here, and this green flag pit stop cycle not completely cycle around.
My goodness, Braxton Deweese nearly took the nose off of Drew Ashley, trying to pinch him down into 1 and 2. And for Deweese, that cost him a little time, because Justin Belmonte, he is within nearly half a second whenever he pinched the 42.
That last time by, battling with the 42, Deweese lost a 1/10 to Justin Belmonte. It's now 7/10 of a second from the 3 back to the 12, and these two are in a zip code of their own. You got to go back another 5.5 seconds before you find last week's winner, Keenan Massey, who just made his way around the lap machine of Alex Link.
Just watching Massey back there. I just saw a car get way out of shape behind Belmonte. Not
55's
sure.
around on the back straightaway.
Caution. Oh, no.
That is not what Ashley in the 42 wanted to see.
That's going to give the lucky dog to Alex Link, and now Ashley is going to have to take a wave around to get back on the lead lap with the leaders pitting.
It's the second straight week that Chris Smith may play a big part into the outcome of this race. Last week on the final lap, he was facing 90 degrees the wrong way in turns 3 and 4, almost took out the 2 leaders coming around to the checkers, and now brings out the 13th caution of the night around the time when drivers might have been thinking about making some green flag pit stops. Now they'll all be able to make it to the conclusion of this race on what they've got in the tank.
So, I hate to be an inner Larry Mack, but this is the money stop right here for everybody on the lead lap. You got to hit your marks here in the pits. Make sure you get that thing packed full of fuel. Oh my goodness, I just said it, and Keenan Massey had to back into his stall.
That is going to cost him some spots, no doubt about that. Cost him some time on the racetrack as Belmonte in that number 1 pit stall. Will it pay dividends? No. Braxton DeWeese by nearly a full car length is going to lead Belmonte off pit road, followed by Mike Tellier, Matt Dyer, and you mentioned it, Keenan Massey losing 2 spots from 3rd back to 5th because of that pit road miscue.
Now I have to wonder, they're all going to be on fresh tires, but Matt Dyer's been running a really good race so far. Braxton DeWeese, by the way, well, now he'll have the lead now because Jacob Grant decided to stay out and lead a lap. Not sure why, but regardless, DeWeese will have the lead here, but I'm wondering, does anyone behind DeWeese have anything?
The only driver that looked like he's got, if not equal, maybe a little bit better long-run pace has been that 12 of Justin Belmonte. Matt Dyer's got a very quick race car, but it just kind of looks like he uses his stuff up a little too early and then fades back the longer the run goes on. I'm wondering about that 97 of Mike Tellier. I mean, we saw that car had pretty good pace on that last run. After struggling the first 2 stages, looks like this more early evening, nighttime condition has really agreed with his machine, so he might be a player in this before all is said and done. But now I think it's going to come down to who's got the best long-run car and who's going to be able to save their tires, because that was a pretty long green flag run, and we may be setting up for another long green flag run, possibly to that checkered flag. Looks like when that caution came out, Alex Link was the first car 1 lap down. So he'll be back on the lead lap. We'll restart, I believe, in the 13th position. And it is looking like the 42 of Drew Ashley, who was able to race around, get one of his laps back. Looks like when these lights go out, he'll be taking the wave around. So he will be back on the same lap as the leaders. Looks like David Duran, the 24, also going to be taking the wave around. So we should officially have 15 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green flag racing.
So Ashley didn't want to see that caution, but it ends up working out for him anyway. So getting that first lap back proved crucial for the 42 of Drew Ashley, as he's going to restart 15th last car on the lead lap.
Going to look at your top 5 there: DeWeese, Belmonte, Tellier, Dyer, and Keenan Massey. These the 5 we're looking at to settle it out for tonight's victory, or does someone outside of the top 5 also make their name known? We got a couple of former winners back there in Brian Sybery and Derek Schilling. You've got the 51 of Evan Coleman and the 4 of Dylan Stipe, who have had to overcome some early damage. Can they still have a shot at the victory here tonight? We're about to find out. Have we seen our last caution? Who knows? Green flag back in the air. 55 laps remaining.
DeWeese got another good restart, but Belmonte hung in there. Tellier trying to work into the corner there. Kind of had to check up because Belmonte did not get back to the throttle that quick. And then for Keenan Massey, he's going to try and make up that mistake on pit lane, but Matt Dyer's going to try and make him pay.
Be side by side, 2 rows deep from 4th place on back. Dyer loose off the corner, saves it. to the outside of Keenan Massey. Here comes Cyber in the 33, Schilling in the 69, Brandon King in the 89. They're all wadded up from 4th place on back.
Oh, Cyber a little loose there off at turn number 2. Matt Dyer as they go 2 by 2 for those 2 spots. Cyber trying to get a good run on the inside. Can't get it. Single file among the top 4.
Still side by side for that 5th position. Cyber on the bottom, Dyer on the top. Both cars have looked loose here on this run. And now Schilling almost gets into the back of Cyber as he drove it deep into turn 1, still leaving them side by side for that final spot inside the top 5. Cyber's going to take it there into turn 3.
Good run by Cyber to get to that 5th spot. Brandon King now going to hunt down the number 8 machine. Meanwhile, at the front, DeWeese has checked out a little bit, and he owns now a 6/10 of a second lead over Belmonte. Mike Tellier, he's there in 3rd as Massey got the wall off of 2.
Gonna keep it together for the time being. Michael Massey, or make that Keenan Massey rather, did that potential right side damage. You gotta wonder if that's going to slow down his progress. Has been up inside of the top 5 pretty much the entirety of this race. There you see, started 12th, now up inside of the top 5 and looking for back-to-back wins here in the Clutch Drop Cup Series. Up towards the front, Belmonte loses touch with DeWeese, dropping back into the clutches of Mike Tellier. It's been a long time since Mike Tellier's been to victory lane. You got to go all the way back to the first half of the season back in season 1.
Yeah, he was running well in that time. That was before the, I like to call it the age of Luminary, before they came in at Dover last year with Shane Terrian picking up an emotional win in that one. But really, before the Luminary guys came in, it was Mike Tellier and Garrett Powell. And then the Luminary guys came in, Garrett Powell left Clutch Drop, and then now Mike Tellier, he finds himself as a member of Luminary, the only sole remaining member, and he is up here running in 3rd.
Mike Tellier, Justin Belmonte, and David Durand, they are the 3 highest drivers in the points without a trip to victory lane. And right now, 2 of them up inside of the top 3 with Belmonte in 2nd, Tellier right now in 3rd. Durand running last car on the lead lap after taking the wave around in the 15th position. Right now, 18 cars still running. Actually, correction, make that 17 cars as Braden Carroll came back down pit road a couple of laps ago. More repairs on the 94, so 17 cars running, and right now 15 on the lead lap. Tim Hendry is the lone driver 1 lap down, would get back in the lead lap should we have another yellow, and that battle for 4th place is closing up here, Matt. I think that damage on the right side of the 47 is really affecting him now.
Yeah, because here comes Brian Cybery coming up right to the back bumper of Massey. It's going to be a tough draw to make here. Now Cybery backs off of the 47, maybe trying to get better corner entry so that he can get a better launch off the corner and get around the 47.
Braxton DeWeese running some of the fastest lap times of the leaders. Mike Tellier a close second to him in terms of lap times completed. He's that time by 22 flat. Belmonte just a tick quicker, as now I mentioned that Tim Hendry would be in the free pass position. Now he falls a 2nd lap down to race leader Braxton DeWeese.
Well, he still is in the free pass position for the time being, barring that he does not, another car ahead of him doesn't fall a lap down. That's highly unlikely, as David Durand is knocking on the door of falling a lap down. So that's going to hurt Tim Hendry, but we continue to roll on here. So there you see him come up on my screen as, man, Cybery continues to battle here with the 47 of Massey as they're going to deal with the lap car and Hendry.
5 of Chris Smith got loose off of turn 2, almost spun in front of Braxton DeWeese, now yields to the 3. Again, he will fall another lap down, currently 11 laps down in the 17th position, way up the track there in 1 and 2 to allow the 12 of Belmonte on by. Now Mike Tellier next to pass the 55, another driver for the race leader to deal with. I believe that's the 24 of David Durand, who took the wave around but is on 57 lap old tires, so no way he's going to be able to hold off the fresh rubber of Braxton DeWeese. Durand was hoping for a quick yellow. He's not going to get it.
He will not get it at all as the 3 goes around. Belmonte sitting back there, still in the screen, 1.1 seconds back of Braxton DeWeese, laying in the weeds. I wonder, does DeWeese just have that good of a car, or is Belmonte just waiting?
Well, if the timing telemetry says anything, Belmonte's not waiting because he's running similar, if not faster, lap times than Braxton DeWeese. If DeWeese is waiting, then Belmonte's waiting, but somehow I don't think the 3's waiting. I think he's trying to put as much distance between himself and Belmonte as possible. 40 laps to go, folks. If you're just joining us, this is race number 8 of Season 2 of the Clutch Drop Cup Series here tonight at Richmond. Seth Cole and Carlos Zimmerman bringing you the action here tonight. Justin Belmonte, second place with your Stage 1 winner. Race leader Braxton DeWeese, your Stage 2 winner. And we're less than 40 laps away from finding out who's going to take the checkered flag here tonight in Richmond, Virginia.
As DeWeese continues to just log the laps away, just waiting and waiting to see if he can just continue to tick laps away. I'm sure he's got someone in his ear going, hey, 37 to go. Just keep logging them away. You're far enough away from Belmonte. Mike Tellier's fallen away from this battle as well, as he has fallen into clutches of lap traffic as well. It's just going to be, it's really down to the 3 and the 12 unless we get a late race caution.
That certainly could be a possibility, even though these drivers, for the most part, are racing single file and there's just little battles here and there. We've seen a number of our yellow flags come out tonight for just a simple solo car loop off of turn number 2. So that could be the case here as we get closer to the end of this race and these rear tires start to lose more and more grip. And there is a spinner right there in the middle of 3 and 4. The 55 of Chris Smith, he saves it, brings it to pit road entry, so we avoid that late race caution you were just talking about, Carlos.
Oh, hold your breath, folks. I mean, the trend was that we were going to see a late race caution. We've had 13 today, 2 of them for stage breaks, 11 of them for incidents on the racetrack. Oh, man, that was so close.
Close there for 4th place. Brian Cybery, Mike Tellier almost making some contact through 3 and 4 as Cybery looks to take that 4th position off of turn 2. Not quite clear yet. Folks want to wish a happy belated birthday yesterday, the birthday of fellow broadcaster Matthew Rodriguez. So happy birthday to him, as it's going to be Cybery getting the loose there off of turn 4.
Always a big thank you to Matt. All he does here at FRN, the head honcho over here, is what I like to call him. So happy belated birthday to him. But yeah, Cybery, he is all over the road right now with his race car. And I'm watching Tellier start to fall back here. I wondered if Tellier used up his stuff.
If we go back to Drew Ashley, he last pitted 33 laps ago. We're at 33 laps to go now. I'm wondering just when do these drivers have to think about coming to pit road, or has the pace backed down enough that they actually could make it to the conclusion of this race? It was 120 laps left when they took the green flag to start stage 3. Our first and second stages were only 70 laps in length. So we don't know exactly what the fuel window is here, but I mean, I'm not necessarily certain if pit road is going to come into play. I assumed it was, but maybe there's something these drivers know that we don't.
Watching DeWeese here continue to log laps away. Belmonte has slowly been picking away at him. 7/10 is the gap as they run up on the lap machine, or soon-to-be lap machine, of Drew Ashley.
This is actually quite surprising, the fact that they're catching that 42 car. And actually, nope, I just remembered that we ended up having that caution come out with Chris Smith. These drivers can make it on fuel. I'm not even sure why I tried to spin that conspiracy web. These drivers are good to make it the rest of the way, but nonetheless, trying to keep things interesting here at Richmond, as you're right, that gap is definitely closing.
I mean, you like to create drama when you can, Seth, but not going to be much here at the end unless, God forbid, we have a late race caution. And with the way these short tracks pan out, I didn't catch the end of Martinsville because, man, those cautions just kept racking up, and I was like, man, when's this race going to end? But regardless, I'm sure that cautions will play a factor here down the stretch of this one tonight.
Martinsville was a long night for drivers and commentators alike. Here tonight, though, we've seen a heck of a race at Richmond, battling all the way through the field. We've seen drivers swapping, exchanging the race lead. It's really been the Braxton DeWeese and Justin Belmonte show for the most part, though, and it's looking like the two that started this are going to finish this. The gap now may be 8 car lengths from DeWeese back to Belmonte, and still 27 laps to go at a short track. That may not seem like much, but that's plenty of time for Belmonte to be able to close up less than a second gap.
Belmonte getting a nice little run there off of turn number 2. And they hit the line. It'll be 26 laps to go. And I'm watching here closely, checking the track map as well as in regard to where the lap machines are. The 71 of Alex Lincoln, the 18 of Jacob Grant, they just got up for turn number 2. Here comes DeWeese off turn number 2. They're going to be a factor here for DeWeese, but they've done really well today. Has DeWeese and Belmonte getting around the slower lap traffic.
Watching the line on board with Justin Belmonte that he's taking. The last time by, he cut it down by 0.03 of a second. This time by, though, he was a tick slower, lost a tenth to Braxton DeWeese. And that's the tough thing when you are the second place driver, because you're trying to compare yourself to the race leader, try and find something different that you can do to gain time on him, and sometimes you get in your own head, and that's when mistakes are made.
And the thing for DeWeese is he just needs to hit his marks. There is no need to worry and try and push the issue. I mean, I get it if Belmonte starts to close in more, but with the way this track has changed so much since the drop of the green flag, no more sun affecting this racetrack. It is all just up to the drivers now as to how they wheel their cars to the end of this one as DeWeese hits the line. 23 laps left in this one.
Remember I talked about the possible rivalries coming out of Martinsville? The one that jumped to the forefront was Mike Tellier versus Brian Cyber, and we almost saw the two of them make contact early on this race. Here they are, same vicinity, closing in on 20 laps to go, the battle for the 4th position.
Whoa, Jacob Grant was slow on the back straightaway, nearly came up into Braxton DeWeese. Now Belmonte's going to get caught up a little bit behind the 18. That's going to allow some more breathing room for the 3 of DeWeese.
That's going to pin the 12 car down a little bit lower than I think he wanted to run through 1 and 2. He's kind of let his car drift about a half groove, maybe a full groove off the bottom last couple of laps. Is back here, that battle still on for 4th place. Fresh tires of David Duran starting to come into play as well.
As they're side-by-side, Tellier and Cybrey. Cybrey's going to get the advantage off the high side as Duran continues to fight his internet issues, but move to 33 up to the 4th spot. Keenan Massey just ahead of them in 3rd spot in the first interview spot.
Their battle going on just inside the top 10. Oscar Jensen, our Bristol Dirt winner. Derek Schilling, our Daytona winner. About 2.5 car lengths separate those two in the battle for 8th. And now we're starting to see, as I said, outside lines start to come into play. More drivers trying to figure out if there's something up there. Schilling ran way wide up past the middle groove that time through 3 and 4 and is closing up the gap on the 46.
You see Jensen back there and Schilling. He's in the range as well. As I continue to look back at this track map where our leaders are in regard to the lap traffic. Don't know how much it'll be a factor with the laps continuing to wind down. Belmonte, he's fallen back again as the 3 approaches the Link machine.
Looks Link right now 12th, last car on the lead lap. Next car that leader would have to deal with after that would be, I believe, Evan Coleman and Dylan Stipe, who were in a pretty spirited battle for the final spot inside of the top 10. As the laps tick away, time rapidly begins to run out for Justin Belmonte, who the last couple of laps has been right on par with Braxton DeWeese. That's not going to help him cut down a 1.3 second gap. It's going to be 15 laps to go in a matter of moments. Clearing the 71 is Braxton DeWeese, putting him between the 12 of Justin Belmonte and himself.
And now that means Belmonte has to navigate his way around the 71 of Link. We'll see if Link's able to get out of the way. I'm not leaving the thing of a caution still looming with 16 laps to go. There's enough cars packed close together for that to happen.
With a number of laps left, it looks like Chris Smith, who's still on pit road, will finish 17th. Braden Carroll 18th, Gary Peck 21st, and Cam Caldwell in 23rd. These drivers sitting on pit road. Looks like even despite getting back on the racetrack, they will not improve their finishing positions with where they currently run. Closing in on 10 laps to go. It was 15 that last time by for Braxton DeWeese, and all of a sudden Braxton DeWeese finds himself with a 1.4 second gap back to Justin Belmonte. You mentioned it, Carlos. It's all about hitting his marks from here on out and hoping that if he looks up into the flag stand off of turn 4, he does not see the yellow flag in his hand.
He wants to see in this order. a green flag just sitting off to its side signaling we're still under green. Then the next time by, see a white flag, and then the black and white checkered flag. That is what the 3 of Deweese needs to see the rest of the way as we close in on 10 laps left.
Are on pit road, the 46 of Oscar Jensen, who was running in the 9th position. I gotta wonder if this is a regularly scheduled stop or not. Might not have gotten that thing packed full of fuel 45 laps ago when he made his last pit stop.
That's intriguing. He's in 9th, and if I'm not mistaken, he was under the same pit cycle as our top 10.
We'll have to see how this plays out. Maybe the numbers are a little closer than we thought. Brian Cybery now trying to close in on Keenan Massey as the 46 down and away out of turns 1 and 2 on the apron. Cybery has to get around the lap machine of Jacob Grant before he can set his sights on last week's winner from Martinsville, Keenan Massey. A little bit further back, we got a good battle that's starting to brew as well. For the 8th position, Derek Schilling has been slowly reeling in the 4 of Dylan Stipe.
It's a methodic of picking away of drivers that Derek Schilling's been doing, our winner from Daytona, as he's going to try and reel in Stipe before all things are said and done here this afternoon.
Gap has opened up even more since we last checked. What was 1.4 seconds now has grown to 1.7 seconds from Deweese back to Belmonte.
Whoa!
More traffic to deal with.
Schilling spins, caution's going to come out!
To the outside wall in turn 3, just maybe about 50 feet ahead of the race leader. And this changes up everything as caution 14 flies with less than 10 to go.
Oh my goodness, Braxton Deweese was on cruise control to a victory. Now he's got to wait now.
Now it's choice time here, Carlos, because these drivers were given 6 sets of tires, the set that they started with and 5 sets on pit road. I believe everyone has at least one more set on pit lane here. Do they take it? Deweese says yes. Belmonte says yes. But is there anyone in the field that says, hey, I'm going to risk it?
With where we're at in this race, I'm risking it. And guess who's risking it?
Cybery agrees.
Who else?
Oh.
I think that's it.
Well, the proverbial sitting duck position might go to the 33, but hey, Cybery's already got a victory this season. He's already locked into the playoffs. So he's a driver that has the luxury of being able to go outside the box in terms of pit strategy. If it pans out, great. That's a second trip to victory lane. If it doesn't, well, at least you know you tried.
Deweese wins the race off a pit lane, but he doesn't have the luxury of choosing the line to start with. And if I'm Brian Cybery and you want to play strategy, you take the outside line away from Braxton Deweese.
We're going to be going back green flag racing with less than 10 to go, and there is still no guarantee that we are not going to see at least maybe one more caution before this evening is over. I mean, we know that when it comes to short tracks and late race restarts, drivers are not going to be afraid to use the bumpers, as we just saw what brought out that caution there with Derek Schilling. And in all honesty, it kind of looked like he was going to broadside the inside wall, be perfectly fine, but as soon as he brushed it, that thing snapped loose right back up the racetrack. And as mentioned, Braxton Deweese, the race leader, was starting to enter into the vicinity.
Indeed he was. My goodness, what a season so far it's been, and what a race this has been. It's going to come down to whether Brian Cybery can pull off the heist of the century, or if Braxton Deweese can get back to the lead and take what was, I would say, rightfully his because of the way he's been running today. We're going to have 11 cars on this restart, as I believe Drew Ashley and Alex Link are going to get the wave around here. I believe Ashley was the lucky dog, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's the, well, who even cares at this point? We got 5 to go, and we're in for an exciting run to the finish.
Believe it's the 71 of Alex Link actually is going to get the free pass here. So 10 drivers will be on the lead lap. Ashley, I think, might have taken another wave around here. Yeah, he will be, I believe, taking the wave around here along with David Durand and Oscar Jensen. This will put Ashley back in the lead lap, Jensen to -1, and Durand to -2. Got Sybri out in front. He's already won this season. Keenan Massey back in 4th. He is a former winner this season. Remainder of the drivers inside of the top 10, actually you could go back through the top 12, all looking for win number 1 on the season. Talk about momentum heading into the unpredictable high banks of Talladega next week.
And when you have Talladega, it is no holds barred, all bets are off, and Sybri elects with the inside line here. Now, granted, DeWeese cannot beat Sybri back to the line unless Sybri just deliberately doesn't get going. Here we go, Seth. 4 to go to find a winner at Richmond.
And we get back to the white flag as the question. Sybri could not get going. Spun the tires. DeWeese to the point. Belmonte to second. 3 wide. Here comes Tellier up the middle.
He overdrove it.
And he's going to collect up Dylan Stipe. Grant gets a piece. Link gets a piece. Caution flies again.
Overtime coming up in Southern Virginia.
Tellier with a power move up the middle, but the rear tires said no to giving him the grip he needed to make that pass work. We'll go back to turn number 1, see what happened. Our 15th caution of the evening, and this one may be one of the closest wrecks we've had towards the front all night.
Watch Tellier here, a power move like there hasn't been one so far this race. Splitting the slower 33, trying to get the 12. Oh man, he just overdrove it and spun it. Got a little help from the 47. Dyer just missing it. Stipe, Grant, Link. And that was about it.
You're right. There were a couple of drivers that got little bits of it, but just as many drivers with near misses. We're going to go on board with the 8 of Matt Dyer, who ran the slippery apron to try and avoid Mike Tellier and just barely was able to squeak through.
See, Dyer's a wheelman, so he knows how to get through these wrecks as wow.
Not certain how both Dyer and the 47 of Keenan Massey, who went around the top side, how either one of them were able to avoid spinning 97. On Stipe going to get some damage there. I think that it might have been to the left front of Mike Tellier's cars, so it kind of calls into question just how up to speed 97 machine is going to be. Mike Tellier, who has spent pretty much most of this race up inside of the top 5, at least the third and final stage up inside of the top 5, and with that move right there, looked like he could have very well been one of the contenders for the victory here tonight.
I think with that move, if he made it stick, I think he would have had a shot at the 3 of Braxton DeWeese, but he just overdrove it, and that's going to take his chances away from a win. He has a shot at a top 10, but no win for him tonight.
This caution is going to help 2 drivers to at least be able to try and salvage a top 10 tonight. Drew Ashley, who took the wave around, now stays on the lead laps, able to come down pit road, and Jacob Grant is going to get the free pass under this yellow. So 13 drivers will be on the lead lap. Little surprised the 33 of Sybri deciding to stay out still. Unless he may not have any tires left. We saw him spin the tires there on that initial start as the race leader. I mean, if he came down pit road, has a set of tires left, the worst he can restart would be 12th place. If I have the 33 and I have a win in the bank, come down, take on that final set, see how much progress you can make on the green-white checkered finish.
Well, he's made 6 stops, so that would be 1 over since you started with 6. You had 1 on the car at the green flag of the start of this thing, and then 5 in the pits. So unless he's taken tires on every single stop that he has had tonight, save 1, he's out of sets.
That caution coming out, too, I think green-white checkered would be single file because that caution came out on a restart lap. But we'll see if maybe with not having to deal with traffic around him, if Belmonte will be able to keep touch with Braxton DeWeese, or if Braxton DeWeese, who not only here tonight, but last week at Martinsville as well, showed that he is really good at restarts, if he'll be able to get the best one of the night here when it matters the most en route, looking for his first checkered flag of the season.
Let's reset it for you. Deweese is the leader. Belmonte is second, so we should get the one to go this time. Cybery with his old tires, he's third. Keenan Massey fourth. Brandon King fifth. And then Dyer, Coleman, Tellier, Stipe, and Ashley will be the top 10 with Alex Link and Derek Schilling, the final cars on the lead lap.
Green flag in the air. Green, white, checkered overtime at Richmond. The battle's going to be for third place as Deweese pulls out by about 2 car lengths back to Belmonte.
As Belmonte's going to have a chance to have one more shot here as...
Oh, we got a spinner! Someone's around back there. Drew Ashley, the 42.
Caution.
No caution yet, and there it is. Leader did not take the white flag. We rack him up, and we do it again.
Deweese was maybe 200 feet from sending this home, but the caution flies before he takes the white flag. So, like Seth said, let's rack him up again, and we'll see if Deweese gets another nice little cue shot out of the gate.
Doesn't look like there was any contact between anyone and the 42 of Ashley. Looks like he may have just gotten loose off the corner. That's exactly what happened. Locks down the brakes, but cannot avoid hitting the inside wall with the left front of his machine. Gets the car refired, but race officials throw the yellow flag, so Braxton Deweese has to hold off the herd one more time here at Richmond. And, you know, it's interesting, Carlos, because we talked with Belmonte, the winner of Stage 1. We talked with Deweese, the winner of Stage 2. The one question that we never asked them, that I would love to ask them now, but certainly would not try and mess with them as they're mentally focused, is if you were in a situation like this, do you have a strategy? And I guarantee you, these drivers right now, they're running down the list of their options, running down the list of scenarios and how they would approach it, because they know that for both of them, it's an opportunity for victory lane, and more importantly, an opportunity to lock yourself into the playoffs. Both of these drivers inside the top 10 in the overall standings.
And look at both of these drivers. They're likely to both point their way in, but they would love to not have to go through that way and get in with a victory. 6 drivers have already punched their ticket. Only a few more spots remain, believe it or not, with the remainder of this season.
We've talked about the consistency of Justin Belmonte, the only driver that is finishing in the top 10 in every single start. 7 top 10s. He leads all drivers in that stat. If he ends up finishing inside the top 5 tonight, he will continue to lead in the top 5 statistic as well. 4 top 5s this season, leading all drivers. So Belmonte, he's been Mr. Consistency, but he doesn't want to be Matt Crafton and make it into the Final Four with no victories. He wants a trip to victory lane. Braxton Deweese, though, stands between him and that checkered flag. And Deweese, of course, trying to get some redemption for a pit road speeding penalty last week at Martinsville after leading a good portion of that race.
Redemption on the mind of Deweese. Belmonte, he's been waiting so long to get to victory lane. Can he do it tonight? With the lot on his back, he won Stage 1, but he hasn't seen the lead since he led the opening first 70 laps. So the pace truck lights are still on, and I believe, Seth, we only get one more shot at this.
I believe you are correct. I believe this is going to be the final green-white checkered. Next flag after the green flag waves will end the race, whether it be the caution or the white flag. Oscar Jensen, who made that late race trip to pit road, a couple of laps down, took the wave around under the last caution and gets the free pass under this one. So he'll be back on the lead lap along with 12 other drivers here. It's Deweese the leader, Belmonte second. Last week's winner, Keenan Massey, trying to go 2 for 2 in his 2 starts. He's third with Brandon King and Matt Dyer, your top 5. The old tires of Brian Cybery still holding on to 6th. Mike Tellier 7th. Evan Coleman, Dylan Stipe, and Alex Link. That is your top 10 as we get ready for the final restart of the evening here at Richmond International.
Hold your breath, folks. This could get ugly quickly. Belmonte's got, in my opinion, he's got one shot. He needs the restart of a lifetime to try and get Deweese. But Deweese, he's been so good tonight. He's looking for win number 1 in redemption.
Green flag about to fly. Deweese with a great restart. Opens it up 4 car lengths before they even get back to the start-finish line.
Belmonte, that might have been it for him as they roll through 1 and 2. Deweese just needs to hit his marks, and he's heading to victory lane.
Ooh, but battle for third was close, but Brandon King's loose off of turn 2, so now he falls back to Matt Dyer. White flag will be displayed. We're racing back to the checkers. It's DeWeese, 0.4 of a second back to Belmonte.
After heartbreak last week after the pit road miscue at Martinsville, DeWeese, he is 2 corners away from win number 1 in the Clutch Drop Cup Series.
Only 2 top 5s in the first 6 starts he's made this season for Braxton DeWeese. His third one tonight will be a big one. It's the checkered flag at Richmond.
What a hard-fought victory for Braxton DeWeese. Belmonte, bridesmaid again, second. After winning stage 1, Keenan Massey third. Brandon King holds on the fourth to hold off Matt Dyer, who he gets the 5th spot, and a good rebound for Mike Tellier after bringing out the first caution. He'll rebound to 6th on his first night at Radius Racing.
Brandon King with his best finish of the season. Matt Dyer, his first top 5 on the year. Braxton DeWeese, for the first time this season, gets to burn it down here at Richmond, Virginia. Not only does he get his first win tonight, but he now has locked himself up a spot in this season's Clutch Drop Cup Series playoffs.
He's got to be careful not to put that thing into the wall. You want to bring that thing in one piece to victory lane. But yeah, that Paladin Chevy, he'll get to burn it down here for the fans here at Richmond and for everybody watching. What a job by DeWeese. Utter dominance since he took the lead early on in stage 2.
Drivers have not had far to travel here in the last 4 weeks. We were right on the Virginia-Tennessee border in Bristol. Then 2 weeks later, made our way to Martinsville, Virginia. Then stayed here in the Virginia state to Richmond International. And Braxton DeWeese, well, you talked about bringing the car home in one piece. Apparently not the engine. His crew's going to have to push that thing to victory lane as we now take a look at the finishing results from tonight's race. And as has been the case in the last couple of weeks, a lot of drivers that were strong in this race finishing up at the top, but then you get to around 6th place on back, you get to drivers that had to overcome some early adversity.
Yeah, Mike Tellier, he's had an up and down day. Again, first night with Radius Racing. I want to credit the owner over there for making that correction for us. Evan Coleman, I think he's had damage all night long on that hood, and he ends up 7. Brian Cybery coming back and then making the pit strategy, try to get that to pan out for him. It didn't work, but he rolls home 8th. Dylan Stipe, we saw him under that caution. We were talking to DeWeese, the eventual winner. He got out of shape in 9th. And then how about Alex Link coming home and bringing it in the 10th position, damaged car and all.
After getting the free pass not once but twice in this race and salvaging a top 10 run. Drew Ashley tried some pit strategy. It gained him some good stage points, but he'll finish 11th place overall tonight. Derek Schilling will finish in 12th, and Oscar Jensen will finish the last car in the lead lap in 13th place. Jacob Grant, first car 1 lap down, 14th. David Durand, 2 laps down in 15th. And then the last car to officially finish this race was Tim Hendry in 16th. The rest of these drivers, some of them finished the race sitting on pit road, some of them in the garage area. Some of the most notable ones, though, would have to be Jeremy Bushi, 2-time winner, finishing in 19th, and Alonso Chicano, former winner, finishing early in the garage area in this one in 23rd position.
Tough break for a lot of those guys. Radius Racing had 23, 24, and 25 out there in the garage area. Getting Tellier to come home 6th is a big one for them. Other names, Gary Peck looked pretty good early on. He ends up 21st. And then, of course, at the bottom, Caleb Smith and Duncan McCamick having troubles early on in this one. They took him out early, and that was the story from Richmond, Virginia. What a race and what a win for Braxton DeWeese. And we'll get to talk to him here in a minute, Seth.
Absolutely will, but let's see if we can first get our 3rd place finisher here tonight, 1 week after his victory last week at Martinsville. That's Keenan Massey. Keenan, it's Carlos and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Sure do.
All right, man, we knew that you could wheel it at a short track with your win last week at the Paperclip Martinsville Speedway, so our eyes were on you here tonight at Richmond. You had yourself there in the vicinity, but what little more did you need to make it a 3-man fight for this victory?
Man, I don't know. Our team was battling the car all night between tight and loose and making adjustments. And there at the beginning, we made the wrong adjustment, and then we ended up fixing it, and the cars felt a ton better. But man, I started 12th, drove up to 3rd, and that's all I could have on them. I just hit a brick wall. It felt like I could not clear any of them. I couldn't even catch up or gain anything on them.
You know, Keenan, this is my first race back here at Clutch Drop after closing out season one. Haven't gotten to see much of you, but from what I've seen out of you in this race, you are quite the wheelman. What's the strategy now? Now that you have a win under your belt, you don't really have to race as hard. You're going to the playoffs, but you head to Talladega next week and then Kansas right after that. What's the strategy now that we kind of make this step away from short tracks and we get to deal with the super speedway and then the intermediates?
I'm just gonna basically go for it, and whatever happens, happens. I love super speedway racing, but I don't know how that this new package that iRacing put in. I don't know if it's gonna be any different or not. But mile and a halves aren't really my biggest strength, so I'm just gonna kind of go in, learn what I can, and take that forward to the playoffs. Now that I could get to look forward to that.
We were trying to figure out what were some of the key things you drivers were struggling with tonight. Looked like rear grip off of turn 2 might have been a big one. Was that the key factor, or were there some other things that you guys were struggling with out there that Richmond brought to the table that maybe spectators might not have been able to see?
Yeah, so we worked on our setup all night. We ended up getting it to drive off the corner extremely well, but the car was a little loose coming into the turns, especially turn 1. Turn 3 was a lot more planted, but yeah, coming out of turn 2, there were a couple times where I slid the tires and had to hurry up and readjust. I nicked the wall a couple times. I had some optionals I could have taken throughout the race, but decided to keep my track position, and thankfully that paid off. But yeah, it was a little loose, and then it tightened up as the track cooled down, the air temps got down. We were able to put more tape on the grill and give the car a little bit more grip.
Keenan, 2 starts here at the Clutch Drop Cup Series, a win and a third place. So a second place average finish here to start out your career in Clutch Drop. Not too bad. We want to wish you luck at Talladega next week. But before we let you go, we're going to let you do some shout outs, thank yous, and sponsors.
Yeah, I just want to give a huge shout out to High Five Racing bringing me on here, King Grant Paints, and Tight End Loose Off with Tyler Stooksbury on YouTube. Make sure to go sub to him and check him out. It's a great channel.
It's Keenan Massey, back-to-back podium finishes here at the short tracks. We'll see how he does at the Super Speedway of Talladega next week. But congratulations on a great run tonight, Keenan, and we look forward to seeing what you're able to do here down the remainder of the regular season, heading towards the playoffs.
Thank you. I enjoy being here. Thank you all.
We talked to him after winning the first stage, and he is our runner-up finisher here tonight. Let's talk with Mr. Consistency, Justin Belmonte. Justin, it's Carlos and Seth up here in the FRM booth again. You got us, man?
What's happening? How's it going?
And we talked to you back at the end of stage 1. You weren't sure how your car was going to be back in traffic, but it certainly looked like the speed was still there. You were there on the back door of the 3-car several times on several restarts, but on that final one, what little more did you need to at least have him within striking distance on the final lap?
He got a really, really good start on that last restart. He jumped a little bit earlier than he had been, and it was just enough. I mean, he was really fast, though. I don't think we would have caught him. It would have taken a little slip by him and some really, really perfect laps by me. He was bad fast.
Indeed, he was, Justin. Man, it's tough to say. I said it right there. Bridesmaid once again for you, but you keep the streak going. 7 straight top 10s on this season. We call you Mr. Consistency for a reason. You head to Talladega next week, and that is such a tough track to go to every time you look on the schedule, but everyone circles it. Does the streak live on to Talladega, and what's your strategy as we move from this train of short tracks from, I guess you can throw in Phoenix, Bristol Dirt, Martinsville, and Richmond. Now you go to the high banks down in Alabama.
I mean, Talladega is a big a wild card as any on the schedule, even more so than like the road courses. One slip by one driver could take out 20 of us, so you never know. I mean, but it's still a lot of fun. So Talladega is going to be about survival, kind of like Daytona was, even at the very last lap there.
You managed to finish inside the top 10 there at Daytona. Obviously you guys only went to Talladega one time last season. That was during the playoffs, and didn't exactly get the finish you were looking for there. So do you approach Talladega with a slightly different strategy this season than you did last year?
Nah, I kind of always take super speedways the same. I take it easy the first stage, let it play out, let guys do their thing. Try to stay out of the junk and just have a chance at the end, because anything could happen.
Justin, congratulations on another solid outing here tonight. I don't think your car fell outside the top 3 all evening long, outside of maybe some drivers pulling some pit strategy. Strong machine for you. You not only get that streak continued here to 8 straight top 10 finishes, but also you end up racking up a playoff point should you make the playoffs with that first stage win here tonight. So congratulations on that. We're now going to turn the microphone over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Thanks, guys, for putting it on for us, and thanks NSM and Shady Rays for being on the car, and to all the guys on the team. We've been putting the practice in, and it's really been showing. So far so good this year.
That is Justin Belmonte, second place here tonight under the lights at Richmond International. Congratulations, Justin, and we look forward to seeing if you can keep that streak intact next week at the unpredictable Talladega.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Well, coming into tonight, Braxton DeWeese, who missed one of the starts this season, had a best finish back at Homestead at Phoenix of second place. Here tonight, he bests it by 1 position, his first win of the season at Richmond. Let's go down to victory lane now. Braxton, it's Carlos and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, we talked to you back after your stage 2 victory, and you said as long as you could keep that thing out in front, you would stay out in front. Man, you proved that right here tonight. Dominating performance. We talked about the hardships of Martinsville last week, so does this taste like sweet revenge?
It feels great, especially after last week, after leading the most laps at Martinsville, and I believe leading the most laps tonight. So, it feels great that leading the most laps and winning the race. And this is my first open setup league win, I want to say. So all the hard work and testing and making adjustments and stuff is paying off. It feels a lot better to win in an open setup league than it does in a fixed setup league, just because of all the adjustments that people can do just as much as you can, or even better. So glad that we came out on top. The last few adjustments there at the end really did help me in the center.
Now, we watched down the stretch of this race, Braxton. Justin kept up there with you just a little bit, but then you just started to pull away. Did you have any worry about Belmonte trying to catch up to you with the way he ran? Because you saw him run in the first stage and he had a great car, so you knew he was there, but what was the difference at the end of the day? You mentioned those adjustments.
I was talking to him in the waiting room before the interview started, and he said that after a while I just had a little bit more drive off than him. And I think that's where I came out to like a 0.7 lead to a 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, something around there, just because of the drive off and stuff. But it's just great to finally win and something to actually go my way. That caution, I was like, hopefully everybody pits here, and everybody did, so that really did help out as well.
Braxton, in the last 4 weeks, we've had a full string of short track stops. Bristol Dirt 4 weeks ago, last week Martinsville, tonight here at Richmond. Next week we go to Talladega Super Speedway. How important is it for you as a driver looking towards the playoffs to get a win locked up now, to maybe then be able to play some strategy at an unpredictable super speedway next week like Talladega?
It's very important. It puts a lot of weight off your shoulders, and you can stand a little bit higher and really think of some different things that you can do to potentially win some races that you haven't tried before. So we're gonna see what we can do in the upcoming races until the playoffs. Since we're already locked in, we're gonna try some stuff, see if we can go out and win some more races.
Braxton, congratulations on a tremendous performance here tonight. I believe you're correct. Led the most laps here this evening. Dominating performance at Richmond after you took that race lead back at the start of stage 2 and never looked back. We're going to give the opportunity now for some thank yous, some sponsors, and some shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to thank Tim Soder with Platinum Home Improvements for coming on. I really do appreciate him coming on and sponsoring the 3-car for the Clutch Drop League. I know he's watching right now. He's probably got a smile on his face, or at least I hope he does, because we put the thing in victory lane. So you're welcome, and let's get some more, because I really do want some more. I also want to thank Zimmerman Concrete, Ron's Pizza, Bennett's Publical, Riverwood Enterprise, Scott Martin at Jeff Schmidt, NASCAR Technical Institute, King Grant Paints. I want to thank you all for broadcasting. Y'all do a great job, and I also want to thank High Five that let me drive the number 3 car in the league, and everybody that tunes in and supports me. I appreciate y'all. Finally got the win for y'all.
Coming into Richmond, 6 drivers were locked into the playoffs. Leaving Richmond, it is now 7. Braxton Deweese clinches a playoff position with his victory here tonight at Richmond International Raceway. Congratulations, Braxton, well deserved, and we look forward to now seeing what type of strategy and what type of racing you've got for us when you take that 3-car to the high banks of Dega next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Going to try to stay out front.
So as we wind down our coverage here tonight at Richmond here, Carlos, some drivers are kind of mourning the short tracks and other ones are leaping for joy now that they're not going to have to deal with a short configurated track for quite some time. But they look ahead and Talladega looms large.
Yeah, Talladega is coming up next. Technically, you don't really see another true short track unless you want to count New Hampshire in the middle of summer. You don't see another short track until you are at Richmond again on Sunday, September 12th, well down the line, 5 months away. So a lot of intermediates, the big super speedway next week in Talladega. Some road courses coming up too. I'm sure there's the drivers that love the short tracks and there's drivers that just live for the thrill of the intermediates and super speedways. Next week is going to be so much fun and I am looking forward to it.
Being a super speedway, we'd be remiss if we didn't just recount what happened at the last time we were at a super speedway, the season opener at Daytona. Derek Schilling taking the victory while running in 8th. The entire field ahead of him. Rex, he slips through the carnage to pick up the victory. Could we be looking at a Cinderella story like that next week?
You always expect that when you go to a super speedway. It is anybody's game when you go to these big tracks. Derek Schilling proved that at Daytona. Will we see it again? You never know what'll happen at a super speedway. Again, that one is coming up next Sunday on April 25th, same time, same great channel here on FRN. I'm very excited for it, Seth.
No doubt. Gonna be a good one as we continue to draw closer to the halfway point of the regular season. Drivers already making their postseason plans for the playoffs. Carlos, been a great one here tonight at Richmond. Appreciate you joining me in the booth and looking forward to doing this one again.
Absolutely. I needed that little bit of a break just to, refresh and everything. Glad to be back here at FRN. And what a race for my comeback race here in Clutch Drop, a series that I fell in love with last year, and they did not disappoint tonight. Again, a big congratulations to Braxton Deweese. Big win for him as he locks himself into the postseason. And always great to work with you, Seth.
And Richmond, a great place to have the finale of the short track streak, if you will, here in Clutch Drop. Thank you, everybody that tuned in tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage. Be sure to tune in next Sunday night as we will bring you the action from the high banks of Talladega Super Speedway. Next broadcast you'll see, we're going to be at Talladega as well for the G4 Sim Racing Vintage Clothing Cup Series. That'll be Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when the green flag will fly. For Carlos Zimmerman, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us here this Sunday evening for some Clutch Drop Cup Series racing as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.